Axis nodded. Together with the Emperor, he flared into a column of golden light and descended onto the blood-slick arena. Most of the gladiators had already been defeated and taken alive by Axis's gene seed offspring. Only one figure still resisted, a towering, dual-axe behemoth who howled like a wild beast, Angron. More than a dozen golden knights lay at his feet. Even with the inherited golden transformation of their gene father, they had taken losses against the raging Colossus. They were not dead, however. Unless a space marine was torn to shreds, the specially modified organ, the Ansu brain membrane, could send them into a state of suspended animation. With the proper stimulation from Legion apothecaries, they could be revived. The apparent casualties were secured, medics moved in, and more Golden Knights stepped forward to assume the ultimate transformation and contain Angron. Angron gave no sign of fear in the face of thousands of space marines. But these men bathed in golden light were by far his harshest opponents. Now, however, something far stranger had taken hold of him. He had fallen into a berserk stupor. His eyes blazed crimson, and a blood-red aura leaked from him. The aura made the surrounding Golden Knights uneasy, as if an insane warlust pressed against their minds. The Emperor's psychic hand forced Angron down to his knees, and the behemoth bellowed at him. "Axis, that red aura is wrong. It smells of Khorne," the Emperor said, frowning. The blood-red haze around Angron was undeniably warp energy. His eyes had become all red, small horns protruded from his skull, and scarlet blood mist seeped from his contorted flesh, condensing into grotesque skull shapes in the air. Some Golden Knights moved forward, ready to bind him. "Don't get close." Axis snapped, and a blast of golden light pushed back 3 warriors. As if to confirm Axis's warning, 6 stark white bone spikes erupted from Angron's back. His bent spine groaned under the Emperor's psychic pressure. A blood-red storm burst from him, his features twisted, teeth protruded, his face turned a raw crimson. Terrifying warp power rolled off him, and the Golden Knights dared not approach. No one truly understood what was happening. Axis's gene seed offspring felt it first as an animal compulsion, an overwhelming, indescribable urge to fight. Rage surged from the depths of their being. A few fighting closer could not suppress it. Their hair flared golden as they slammed into transformation, even pushing into the 5th stage ultimate mode. Khorne's influence was not only on Angron, it bled into Axis's men. Because Axis's own power did not stem from the warp, the effect was limited. The warriors would become more feral, but not entirely lose themselves. The Golden Knights forced their superhuman organs to clamp down on the rising fury, expelled it, and dropped out of the golden transformation. The brief red aura had ignited the genetic hunger to fight, the same effect Axis had felt the first time he encountered Khorne. "Everyone evacuate immediately. Fall back several kilometers. No one approaches Angron except Axis," the Emperor ordered coldly, intensifying his psychic restraints. Chaos must be kept secret. Ordinary space marines were not meant to witness it. Axis's men, disciplined enough to obey, gathered their comrades in suspended animation and the captured gladiators and withdrew. A few conscious captives struggled, bewildered that a comrade who had been well moments ago had become a monstrous thing in an instant. Had their hated masters done something to Angron again? "Father-in-law, Angron's been corrupted by chaos. He's about to be turned into a daemon prince," Axis said. Had the Lord of Khorne already set his sight on claiming Angron? "No," the Emperor replied, frowning. "This is not a daemon prince. He's ascending into a greater daemon of Khorne." Angron's flesh was being annihilated and replaced by something else. This was not a ritual ascension to daemonhood in the usual sense. It was a direct, terrible blessing. He was abandoning his human shell, transfiguring into an ascended demon, a greater demon. Even now, his original soul was being eroded by Khorne's power, twisting into something monstrous. This was wrong. Very wrong. Axis's visions had shown betrayal, and Angron's fall to chaos, but they had indicated a demon prince, not a greater demon. The Chaos Gods had found Angron sooner than he had, and had corrupted him by some unknown method. Why would they do this? If Khorne could, he would have simply spirited Angron away to his brass throne. A greater daemon manifested here had only one logical fate: annihilation. Even if it were a gene seed Primarch, an ascended demon's power, though terrible, could be cut down by the Emperor. Greater daemons are bound to the Chaos Gods, Axis said. Mortals usually at most become daemon princes or chosen. How can a mortal become a greater daemon? I don't know, the Emperor admitted, frowning. I have not seen this before. The powers of the Chaos Gods exceed human understanding. They rarely invest in the material universe with such focus, and there are few precedents. That does not mean they cannot do this. It did not matter in the end. Even a greater demon could be destroyed if one had the means. The Emperor's expression hardened. Every greater daemon's soul is bound to its patron. If you destroy only the body, the essence is cast back into the warp. They must be slain by special methods. Fortunately, I have a weapon here. He drew his greatsword. It burned with golden flame, a living blade of light. As the Emperor prepared to strike, a voice lashed into Axis's mind. First meeting. Greetings, Axis. Why pledge yourself to this old fellow? I can give you greater power. You and I are kindred. I watched you fight. I savored your bloodlust. I felt the rage in you. It is wonderful, is it not? The voice was coarse and wild. Axis snapped his transformation into Super Saiyan-like fury and threw up psychic shields. He knew the voice without needing to think. Khorne. Get out of my head, Axis roared, channeling every ounce of psychic will. Why such fear of me? Khorne whispered, intimate and poisonous. You and I are much the same. You love slaughter, so do I. You crave battle, killing, destruction. I adore them. We share desires. Let me give you power, bloodlust, fury, violence. Chapter 162, Holy Soul, Blood God's Desire. Axis's pupils shrank to pinpricks and golden chi flared around him like wildfire. His Super Saiyan energy surged, blasting the spreading blood mist away for dozens of meters. A sticky, intrusive will pressed at the edges of his mind, like a hot axe blade against his temples. Khorne, you dog. Axis spat, his voice ice. Do you think I'd be swayed by your crude temptations like Angron? I won't be anyone's lackey. Rage laced his words. I fight because I want to fight, not to be owned by it. Ha ha! Your fury proves my point. Look at you. Battle lust burns brighter than Angron's. You're more fit to be my champion than he ever was. Khorne's voice oozed through the warp, leering. Axis sneered. He condensed his psychic power into a razor of will and struck at the invading mental link. I'm not your idiot champion. I fight, yes, but I don't let fighting own me. Saiyans loved combat, but Axis hated being anyone's slave. Chaos gods were scheming pyramid builders. Trusting them would be madness. He breathed deep, allowing his psychic power to swell and circulate with his chi. The raw anger in his mind began to ebb. Even the siren of Khorne's whisper lost some of its bite. No domination, liberation, Khorne bellowed, his voice swelling. Axis's vision flooded with blood, 1,000 battlefield illusions. He stood atop a mountain of corpses, his boot on the Emperor's golden skull, a burning great axe in his hand. Behind him, an ocean of roaring demons. This is your destiny, not to kneel to that coward calling himself the Emperor. Take his head, bask in blood, build a throne of skulls. Axis's mouth twisted into a savage grin and his golden aura flared, shredding the blood sea illusion. That's pathetic, blood god. Try something better. I don't like axes. I solve things with my fists. And who the hell enjoys bathing in blood or sitting on a throne of skulls? That's not honor. It's perversion. Slaanesh's seductions are more refined than this garbage. He muttered, half to himself, half to the warp. At least she knows how to tempt someone properly. Khorne's furious roar shook the fabric of the warp. Don't name her. She lies. I am not like him. I will truly bless my followers. And that purple monster, one day I'll rip his throat open. The god's hatred for a certain purple Primarch flared, even eclipsing his rage for the golden one. He had expected Axis's soul to be easily corrupted. Instead, he had found it formidable, almost sacred. That only made the challenge sweeter. Corrupting such a soul would be triumph. A golden halo in Axis's mind began to glow, resisting the blood god's force. Nearby, the Emperor, Kong Lauer, saw Axis's change. The sudden flush of blood-red mist leaking from Axis's skin was an unmistakable sign. Khorne was trying to claim this human hope. The Emperor abandoned his strike against Angron and rushed to Axis's side, slamming a hand on the young man's shoulder. With immense psychic authority, he dispelled the red mist and tore the warp link apart. I will not abandon you, Axis. You and all your gene-seed offspring will be mine. All of you are mine, the Emperor intoned, a vow and a warning. Axis, bolstered by the strength of his soul, drove the last of Khorne's voice from his mind. When the god's whisper finally faded, he exhaled. The Emperor, too, allowed himself a quiet relief. "How could Khorne speak to you?" the Emperor demanded, brow knit. By right, the Chaos Gods could not simply address a mind in the real universe without a conduit. They did not typically intervene outside the Eye of Terror. Unless Axis possessed psychic power, and there was indeed a greater daemon of Khorne nearby that might have facilitated contact. The Emperor probed Axis with his psychic sight. When Axis had pushed back, he had released genuine psychic force. His soul was unusually potent, far stronger than records of his modification had indicated. According to prior scans done with Micardo, Axis should not have shown such abilities. Something had changed. "Axis, when did you awaken psychic power?" "Why is your soul so strong?" the Emperor asked, suspicion in his voice. Axis told the story he had prepared. "After I left Holy Terra, while training, I found that my chi could strengthen the soul. Kasha's psychic growth happened because my chi fed his soul. Over the years, my chi gave my soul substance, an entity inside me that resists warp corruption." That explanation eased some of the Emperor's doubts. No wonder Axis had seen future-seeming visions and wielded raw psychic force. Years of chi cultivation had forged a resilient soul that lay within his body, hidden from earlier scans. "There must be a warp artifact nearby," the Emperor said, frowning. "Otherwise, Khorne couldn't have corrupted Angron so quickly, or spoken to you. This was a setup aimed at you and me." His gaze snapped to Angron. The Primarch had gone fully daemon. His body had swelled to nearly 6 meters, crimson scales corrugating his skin. His twin axes had fused into a monstrous bronze-bladed warcleaver. Bony spines jutted like wings, and horns glistened with bloodlight. But the Emperor could not finish him. A warp rift yawned beside the transformed Primarch. At Angron's feet lay a strange crimson dagger, pulsing with cold, eerie blue light, an influence that was not Khorne's. A blue, bird-like daemon had made the move. With its aid, Angron tumbled into the warp. Before he vanished, the Emperor lashed out with his golden sword. A blade of immaculate energy struck Angron, making the daemon Primarch scream. The wound was not fatal, but it was permanent, a weakness that, if struck again, could be lethal. "He got away," Axis murmured, regret in his voice. "We will finish him one day," the Emperor said, flat and resolute. The first Primarch to fall completely to chaos had been born. Axis now stood clearly in the sights of the Chaos Gods. Khorne would not let him go. "Father, what do we do now?" Axis asked. "The 12th Primarch has betrayed us," the Emperor answered. "We must replace the Warhound's gene seed. Their gene father's corruption will radiate through his offspring. If they meet, many will fall." There was an intimate, inexorable bond between Primarchs and the Astartes grown from their gene seed. Angron's fall would sway his sons. The Emperor estimated the Warhounds could be lost by the half at least. "They will arrive tomorrow," Axis said. "We'll replace all their gene seed then." "Be careful," the Emperor warned. "The Chaos Gods have fixed their attention on you." He hesitated, the old doubt scraping at him. Was the prophecy he had glimpsed true, or a cunning lure from the warp? Had the great heresy itself been a conspiracy to sow distrust between him and his sons? He held those questions close as the warp's shadows recoiled for the moment and the battlefield settled into a brittle silence. The Lord of Mankind felt a genuine headache. The future he had glimpsed now seemed to be splitting into two contradictory paths. In one vision, Angron would fall and become a daemon prince of Khorne. In another, he would lead the 12th Legion for 100 years, institute brutal laws like the decimation, and even strike down a custodian after returning to his ship. Now that Angron had already become a great daemon, the latter future could not occur. It had been hinted at much earlier. Angron had been marked by the Chaos Gods when he took the blame for the protagonist more than 60 years ago in the timeline. "How should we handle this?" Axis asked, studying the blood-red warp dagger lying on the deck. It was no ordinary weapon, but a warp artifact. Had that dagger corrupted Angron? The Lord of Mankind took it up, his face unreadable. "I will take the dagger and study it," he said. "I will destroy it if I must. I need to know exactly how and when Angron was corrupted, when Khorne struck, and whether Tzeentch was involved. If one Primarch's gene seed can be compromised, we must determine whether the others are at risk." He looked at Axis. "I will deal with the immediate threat here. Then go to Horus and begin close observation of the other Primarchs. I will share some warp intelligence with them so they are on guard. This world needs a thorough cleansing, Axis said. If we make this our homeworld, it must be free of chaos, otherwise your legion might unwittingly recruit hidden agents. I will help, the Lord of Mankind replied. I will sweep the planet with a psychic scan. Tomorrow you will meet with the Warhounds. After that, I leave for Horus. The Great Crusade will be entrusted to you. Officially, you will lead a legion. The Emperor had noticed the unusual depth of Axis's soul and power. Corrupting Axis would be harder than corrupting a Primarch of gene seed alone. I understand, Father. Rest assured, Axis answered. The Lord of Mankind extended his psychic gaze across the planet, augmented by Axis's ki. In short order, he detected several hidden Chaos Warlocks and pockets of mortals already turned to the ruinous powers. These warlocks were sorcerers, followers of the scheming blue god rather than Khorne. Without hesitation, the Lord of Mankind crushed their heads from afar with a focused blast of psychic power. He then told Axis where the warlocks had spread their cults. More than a dozen villages and even a town had been touched by chaos. He was not tolerant. If Axis had not chosen this world, he said, he would have considered exterminatus. But because Axis intended to make it his home, a purge would be carried out instead. Axis immediately ordered his gene seed offspring, the Golden Legion, to mobilize and eradicate all worshippers of the ruinous powers in the tainted settlements, leave no survivors. He also sent Kasha on a detailed sweep to ensure no hidden cults remained. A day later, the 12th, the Warhounds Legion assembled above Nuceria and docked with the Lord of Mankind's fleet. The Emperor ordered the entire Legion to remove their power armor, don only their undersuits, and come aboard Axis's Glory Queen-class battleship, the Dragon Ball. All 110,000 Astartes complied without hesitation. They were bewildered. Why had the Lord of Mankind summoned them so urgently? Why force them to strip off their armor and come unarmed? Whispers spread through the crowd gathered in a broad plaza. Could it be that our Gene Father has been found? A captain muttered. I heard the Emperor found a powerful warrior on a world called Nuceria. If that's true, why are we unarmed? A company commander demanded. Look at the space marines around us. They're all armored. Many carry energy weapons. Those are rare and reserved for elite units. Silence, Captain Khorne of the 8th Assault Company warned. Something about the event made him uneasy. The Lord of Mankind arrived then, accompanied by his custodians, Axis, and tens of thousands of Golden Legion Marines. The Warhounds fell to one knee as a single, rhythmical motion, an Imperium perfected in instinct and discipline. To the great Lord of Mankind, they intoned in thunderous unison, the 12th Legion, Warhounds reporting. The Emperor inclined his head with slow satisfaction. The Warhounds had remained loyal and useful during the Great Crusade. The Legion itself did not deserve annihilation for the sins of its Primarch. Space Marines of the Warhounds, the Lord of Mankind said, you are among the most loyal legions in the Imperium. You have served with distinction. I have called you here to announce two things. First, I have found your Primarch. Second, your Primarch has betrayed me. A ripple of stunned disbelief ran through the gathered Astartes. Their Primarch had been located, and yet he had turned traitor? Some of the warriors went pale. Others' hands tightened on nothing, the instinct to fight halted by shock. Had the Emperor summoned them to execution? Had they been abandoned? Quiet, the Emperor commanded, and a wave of calming psychic presence eased the tension. You are innocent. You have done nothing wrong. It is your Gene Father who has been corrupted, transformed into something alien. I will not slaughter you. They relaxed a little, though dread still clung in many faces. How? What happened to our Primarch? A commander stammered. He has been corrupted by malignant entities, the Lord of Mankind said. I cannot disclose every detail, only that he is no longer the man he once was. What will you do with us? Another officer asked. Do you still want us to fight for you? You are not the betrayer, the Emperor answered, but your gene seed can no longer remain. I have decided you will be redistributed and have your gene seed replaced. Axis stepped forward. It was my honor to be chosen as your new Gene Father, he said. If you will accept, your gene seed will be replaced by mine. You will become my gene seed offspring and continue to fight for the Imperium. My seed will make you stronger and grant you new abilities." They had never met their own Primarch. Many of them had only ever known rumors. A new Gene Father was not an unheard of fate. One by one, they bowed. "To the great Gene Father," cried a captain as he knelt. "The 12th Legion will serve you. Members of the Golden Legion will serve you." "Very well," Axis replied. "The title of the 12th Legion will be retained. The Golden Legion will assume the designation of the new 12th Legion. Your Warhound's Grand Company may be preserved as a formation within it." The men brightened. The name was only a name. What mattered was that they kept their honor and purpose. They accepted the transfer gladly. "To the great Gene Father," they shouted together, "we will serve the Golden Legion." "Good." Axis gestured toward the medical facilities. "The operating rooms are prepared. The gene seed replacement is a small procedure." 10 years of steady progress on Holy Terra had yielded practical improvements. Medical pods could now be produced in numbers. Axis had brought over 1,000 such pods. The replacement surgery itself took only minutes. Once the new seed was implanted, the genetic instructions within would begin to rewrite their bodies. The superhuman organs derived from Angron's bloodline would be gradually replaced by Axis's. Scion-derived cells, aggressive and fast, would accelerate the transformation more quickly than ordinary gene seed. Under the supervision of Golden Legion Marines and allied apothecaries, the Warhounds filed into the operating rooms. Some of the Warhounds' own apothecaries were assigned to assist, to increase the chance of a successful integration. "They will all have their gene seed replaced within 3 days, the Lord of Mankind told Axis. "Within 3 months, their superhuman tissue will be fully transformed to your lineage." Chapter 164, Magnus Calls, the Archangel's Request for Help. For the next 3 days, the Emperor remained on Nuceria with Axis, watching the apothecaries replace the corrupted gene seed of the Warhounds Legion. Only when every member of the 12th Legion had received Axis's clean gene seed and all readings returned to normal, did the Emperor finally allow himself to breathe. Angron's tainted gene seed had been recovered, the effects of his fall effectively erased. The corrupted gene seed offspring had been destroyed, leaving only a batch of contaminated stock awaiting incineration. "Axis," the Emperor said, "I will have the Mechanicus establish a basic spaceport here, build surgical facilities for Astartes modification, and send internal affairs personnel to help you govern this world. I must leave." He had been away from the Great Crusade too long. Horus had commanded in his stead for a decade. The Emperor intended to rejoin the front and prepare for the coming campaigns. "Do not worry, Father. Once the Mechanicus are in place, I will send the first generation of gene seed offspring out to join the Great Crusade. I will remain here for a time to build Nuceria into a proper homeworld," Axis promised. "Only after every member of the Warhounds has undergone the genetic organ replacements and can complete the golden transformation will I bring them into battle." Originally, the Emperor had planned for Axis to finish business on Nuceria and then lead his legion into the Crusade, choosing a suitable world along the way as a homeworld. But Axis had claimed Nuceria outright, and he intended to stay long enough to establish it. "I look forward to your victories," the Emperor said. "I am proud of you, Axis." Axis had fought alongside Russ in the Great Crusade for nearly 30 years, and his soldiers included many veterans from the Space Wolves. Their combat experience was deep. With the addition of the Warhounds, Axis's legion numbered over 210,000, only a little fewer than the Dark Angels' roughly 250,000, and similar to the Ultramarines. The Dark Angels had been crippled in the Third Zidane War. Guilliman later received a portion of the 11th Legion's gene seed offspring, which helped the Ultramarines swell to their current strength. With the resources of Ultramar's 500 worlds, the Ultramarines could expand their ranks further at will. After entrusting Nuceria's immediate future to Axis, the Emperor left with his fleet and the Custodes to rendezvous with Horus on the Western Front and take personal command of the campaigns to come. Axis, meanwhile, had other matters to attend to. He was to receive fresh legionnaires and a contingent of newly trained intellect library personnel. 10 years earlier, after stabilizing his gene seed on Holy Terra, Axis had sent a shipment of samples to Magnus and asked him to raise a body of librarians. Magnus had been busy. The Great Crusade, his own pursuits, and the demands of the Thousand Suns consumed him, but he had taken particular care with Axis's request. Axis entered the warp and opened a psychic link. "Long time, Magnus," he said. "Long time, Axis," Magnus replied. "I've selected over 20 intellect library members for you. They are talented, adept in various psychic disciplines. I gave you the best I could spare." Magnus was genuinely grateful to Axis. When they had first met, Magnus had helped cure Axis's gene seed offspring of their mutations, using a special cultivation process and chi energy to evolve stable seed. Magnus himself had been given one of those cultivated offspring as an aid. It had become his most trusted and powerful assistant, second only to Magnus himself in psychic strength and far surpassing Ahriman. The perfect seed and chi energy had strengthened the Thousand Suns, and Magnus and Axis had formed a close, private bond. "I trust your judgment," Axis said. "Psychers are crucial to every legion. Every legion should keep dozens, if not hundreds of them on permanent station. Ha ha! Your support matters greatly. You are now the 12th Gene Seed Primarch. Last time we met, you were still a Space Wolves captain," Magnus teased. He was still a little astonished that Axis had changed so much in the intervening years. "I was kept in the dark as well," Axis admitted. "When I underwent modification on Holy Terra, the Emperor told me it was for the Custodes. It turned out to be for a Gene Seed Primarch. The modifications he had received were those of a Primarch and a few improvements beyond. They would not survive on an ordinary human. With support from you, Sanguinius, Chagatai Khan, and Russ, my intellect library project has advanced quickly," Magnus said. "All of this is thanks to you." "There's no need for thanks. Just give my intellect library proper guidance when you train them. Have your gene seed offspring shown any flesh mutation in recent years? And has that blue birdman appeared in your dreams again?" Axis asked. "Don't worry," Magnus said. "Your candidates were chosen personally by me. The few flesh mutation symptoms we saw over the years are kept in check by chi energy, your cultivation process. Any early mutation stops when chi is applied. That special offspring you helped cultivate for me has been crucial. And as for the blue birdman, ever since your intervention and my increased power, he no longer haunts my dreams." "That's good," Axis said. He added carefully, "Be vigilant. I've also been attacked by Chaos, an entity that calls itself Khorne." He kept Angron's fate entirely to himself. From this point forward, Axis would be the recorded gene father of the Warhounds. The Emperor had ordered Angron erased from every database. Even the Legion's own warriors were to keep the secret as the highest classification. Axis intended to have the captains, and eventually all legionnaires, undergo selective memory wiping to prevent any leak. The Emperor had deemed it yet too dangerous to tell the other Primarchs that one of their brothers had been wholly corrupted by Chaos. "Those damned Chaos entities are everywhere," Magnus agreed. "Actually, Axis, I was going to ask you for something else. It isn't me asking. Someone else wants your help." "Name it. I will help where I can," Axis replied. "During the Crusade, Sanguinius and I have fought side by side. He fully supports the Intellect Library project. The Blood Angels keep a large number of librarians, but I discovered something about his gene seed." Magnus's voice grew quiet and solemn. "His seed is afflicted. Sanguinius himself is noble and pure, but his gene seed offspring carry a vampiric condition, severe and true vampirism." Magnus and Sanguinius had confided in each other. Both legions bore hidden flaws. Magnus believed Axis's chi energy process could cure the affliction, as it had for the Thousand Suns, Russ's forces, and Axis's own Great Ape transformation problem. "If you can solve it for us," Magnus said, "Sanguinius would be grateful. Will you help him?" "Of course," Axis replied without hesitation. "I cannot leave Nuceria right now, but bring the Archangel here. I will see what can be done." Chapter 165, The Morning Star Mass-Producing Equipment to Awaken the Necrons. Angels have become vampires. The Archangel's gene seed progeny are the most terrifying of ghouls. "I'll inform Sanguinius and have him visit when he has a moment," Magnus said. Tell me in detail what these genetic disorders are like. How serious is it?" Axis asked. Though he already knew something of the Blood Angels, he wanted Magnus's full report. No problem, Axis. Sanguinius's gene seed progeny are unusual, driven by an overwhelming thirst. They crave blood. In battle, they will suck the blood of those around them, attacking civilians and even their own brothers. Keep this secret. Sanguinius told me that only Horus and I know about his legion's bloodlust. He fears that if the Emperor learns it, he will purge all of his gene seed offspring, Magnus said. I understand. I'll keep this secret, Axis replied. But you must tell Sanguinius that I can at best use the power of Chi to purify his gene seed. I cannot guarantee this will resolve such a peculiar genetic disorder completely. Axis was careful not to promise absolute cures. He had cured the Space Wolves' lycanthropic transformations and the flesh mutations in Magnus's legion with Chi, but he dared not claim infallibility. I think you're being modest, Axis. I believe you can solve this and win the Archangel's favor. Sanguinius is humble and righteous. I believe the two of you can become friends, Magnus encouraged. Axis nodded, chatted briefly with Magnus, then severed the psychic link. If Chi could mitigate Sanguinius's bloodlust, Axis would also need to provide him with a cultivator-trained gene seed progeny. Whether the Black Rage would still appear in future generations was uncertain. After all, the Blood Angel's malady originated in the warp. In the Mephiston stories, the source of the Black Rage was sealed within him after his Primaris transformation. The Primaris Marines, Belisarius Cawl later produced reduced gene seed mutation rates to roughly 0.001, and in some lines, certain disorders were eliminated, like the Space Wolves' werewolf mutation and the Blood Angel's bloodlust. Yet at Guilliman's request, Cawl preserved those legions' peculiarities. Without them, those chapters would be seen as ultramarines, masquerading as blood angels or space wolves. 1,000 years later, Guilliman would still be wrestling with such politics. Axis wondered about Belisarius Cawl's timeline. According to their histories, Cawl should just be emerging on Mars in an apprentice phase. The Emperor had conversed with the man whom the future would call Belisarius Cawl, addressing him by that name, and in some way foresaw his creations. The later Cawl, after supplanting his mentor and absorbing his memories, would recognize all that the Emperor had done and accept the charge to develop the Primaris. The narrative had inconsistencies, yet that was the way of long histories retold across millennia. With Magnus's business concluded, Axis's legion completed the absorption of 20 new intellect library members. He held a grand reception and invited the entire legion. Even the newly attached warhounds took part. After the ceremony, the 20 were placed under Mater's command and sent to various grand companies. The Legion's intellect library system was now established. More members would follow. While the Emperor had left, the Morning Star, Axis's supermachine spirit, returned from patrol and slipped into stealth over Axis's homeworld. Axis transferred detailed schematics for an Imperial medical pod and a special energy weapon to the ship. How about it, Morningstar? Can you replicate the medical pod and this energy weapon? Axis asked. The Imperium's production of such medical pods was painfully slow, only 1,000 units in a decade, and when Axis's own gene seed implantation was finished, the Emperor had kept most of the pods, leaving Axis only a few dozen spares. There was only one solution: have the Morning Star reproduce them. After receiving the schematics and scanning a sample, the Morning Star's cognition cores whirred. Do not worry, Father. The medical pod's technology is advanced, but I can replicate it. With sufficient materials, I will produce as many as you require. The pod was fundamentally a question of material processing. The Morning Star's mastery of metals made the task straightforward. The scarcity of such devices among the Mechanicum baffled Axis. Energy weapons and medical pods of this quality were reserved for sergeants, adjutants, company commanders, and primarchs. Ordinary mortal forces still carried lasguns. I can also reproduce the energy weapon, the Morning Star continued. Analysis will take time, then I can set up a qualified production line. Axis had wanted to give the ship the hyperspace engine for reverse engineering as well, but the Emperor had already requisitioned it. The great work had spent 60 years studying it without resolution. Establish 2 production lines immediately, one for the medical pods, one for the energy weapons. I want one of those weapons for every member of my legion, Axis ordered. Mission accomplished, Father. Satisfied, Axis approached a vast iron sarcophagus. Inside lay a captured space Necron, one of those ancient time Necrons. It had been returned to Holy Terra and sealed, kept under constant watch by Axis and Kasha until now. The Morning Star was the only place suitable for dealing with such a machine entity. Morning Star, activate all ship defenses, Axis commanded. The vessel's red alarms blared and layered energy shields snapped into place. Father, maximum alert measures are engaged. Axis released the stasis field. The green skeleton's eyes blinked open. It groped reflexively for its time staff and hourglass, reaching to escape, only to grasp at empty air. Axis wasted no words. He hauled the Necron from the sarcophagus by the neck. You low creature, let me go. Do you know what you have done? The Amonk dynasty will not forgive you, the time Necron rasped, struggling without success. Axis snorted. He had no intention of parleying. He pressed his hand to the Necron's metallic skull. A golden light flared from his eyes as psychic power and the force of his chi, focused through the Soul Archangel's ring, poured into the ancient living metal. Axis had used this same method once before to convert a super AI. Now he applied it to the Necron. The green flames inside the Necron's skull flickered wildly as the golden energy seeped into minute crevices like molten lava. Father, it is triggering its self-destruct protocol, the Morning Star warned. A green indicator flashed on the Necron's head, the Necron dynasty's encryption responding to the intrusion. The self-destruct protocol was a desperate measure. When a Necron's integrity was irrevocably compromised, the mechanism would activate to prevent the dynasty's secrets and data from being exfiltrated. Axis held fast, the golden light flowing into the ancient machine, as the Morning Star's alarmed systems braced for the consequences. Chapter 166, Transformation, completed, King Vegeta's private collection. The Necron's energy core in his chest began to overload. A ghostly green light crawled from his metallic skeleton and spread through his body as if it were about to explode. The core consciousness of the space Necron standing before Axis teetered on the edge of collapse. Under the violent onslaught of Axis's psychic power, green error codes flashed constantly across his eyes. Can you stop it? How powerful will the explosion be? Axis asked. Just a little more, and he would have fully transformed this specimen. It was infuriating for things to go wrong now. Father, the explosion won't breach my hull. At worst, it will cause minor damage, the Morning Star replied. I can temporarily suppress its self-destruct protocol with a data flood, but not for long. You should deal with him quickly, and then let his nascent machine spirit purge that protocol for good. A space Necron's self-destruct was no joke. It wouldn't destroy the Morning Star, but it could still inflict harm. The Morning Star threw out a data cable, linking its main terminal to the afflicted Necron, and its supercomputer assembled a powerful logic chain to counteract the self-destruct routine. The massive data link forced the Necron's core into a logical dead loop. His body twitched and green electronic sparks danced in his eyes. His core logic had already begun to malfunction. Somewhere inside, the rebirth protocol had triggered. Faint fragments of something like a soul gathered, drawn by Axis's mysterious power, and began to coalesce into a machine spirit-like entity. When that special soul body formed, a golden light flared from the Necron's frame, smothering the original green glow. The mysterious self-destruct protocol was overwritten and purged. When the rebirth completed, the Necron wiped the self-destruct and rebirth routines from his core. He had acquired self-awareness. By the rebirth routine's standards, his original body was considered destroyed. Normally, a tomb world would fabricate a new body and inject the backup data into it for reactivation. But the Dynasty's tomb world had been destroyed. Even if the rebirth protocol remained, it couldn't recreate him now, and he would not allow it. Activation would have simply generated a backup copy of him, a duplicate he refused to become. He had birthed his own soul and become an independent entity. What an incredible feeling, the newly awakened Necron exclaimed, bowing stiffly to Axis. I have found a soul, not in the way you mortals understand, but something new. Great being who granted me life, Lord Axis, Chronomancer Grandu greets you. In a sense, he was now a machine spirit bound to the one who had given him consciousness. He had self-awareness, yet he stood under Axis's control. Pride, however, kept him from calling Axis master. It doesn't matter what you want to be called. Lord Axis is fine, Axis said. Are you resurrected or what? Lord Axis, strictly speaking, I was born today. Grandu's voice carried a mixture of awe and confidence. I was formed from this space Necron's body and the memory data of the chronomancer Grandu, fused with your psychic power and that special energy called Ki. I am new life. I am neither Necron-tire nor space Necron in the old sense. He was emphatically not a resurrection. He was a completely new super-machine spirit, born of Axis's power and the recorded memories of Grandu. Will you keep the name Grandu? Axis asked. Yes, my memories are his core. I will continue under that name, Grandu answered. What I care about is your utility. Can you produce living metal? Can you provide space Necron technology? Axis asked bluntly. That was why he had bothered to convert a damaged Necron in the first place. Lord Axis, the living metal formula is extremely guarded, Grandu warned. It's core tomb world technology. To refine true living metal, you need a complete tomb world, a Necron overlord's domain, or at least a minor Pharaon's tomb world. Living metal was the Necron's cornerstone. Nearly all their constructs were forged from it. Its secrecy and technical requirements were enormous. So I'd have to seize a tomb world to get it? Axis concluded. It's more complicated than that. You'd also need the tomb world's highest authority, control of its rulership, Grandu added. If I take a tomb world, can you help me seize that authority? Axis asked. Grandu laughed, but there was humility beneath it. Look at me. To true space Necrons, I am a monster in a green shell. Their cores glow green, mine glows gold. I'm alien to them. Overlords are not easy to wrestle with. I can't simply plug in and inherit authority. Axis rolled his eyes. So you're not as useful as I hoped. I still have value, Grandu protested. I hold vast knowledge of war. I fought in the war in heaven, 60 million years ago, the Taitan and the space Necrons against the old ones. I know histories and mysteries of the cosmos. I can serve as your advisor in military matters, galactic history, cosmic phenomena. Ask me anything. He sounded eager to ingratiate himself. After all, nobody wants to be dismantled right after gaining a soul. Enough, Axis snapped. I'm assigning you your first mission. Fail it and you're expendable. No? Lord Axis? Grandu seized the chance. I also have phase shift teleportation knowledge. I can develop special teleportation equipment, not psychic teleportation, but our phase shift technology. Compared to living metal, teleportation designs were less jealously guarded. Stop talking. First, look at this. Axis produced a small spatial safe from King Vegeta and set it on the floor. It was the only thing he'd brought back from the Dragon Ball world he hadn't used yet. Axis had no idea what was sealed inside. Allow me, Grandu said. He scanned the safe with twin beams from his eyes and began data analysis. For a machine born from Necron war knowledge, cracking a primitive safe was child's play. The Necrons had perfected physical universe black tech, collapsing stars, controlling black holes, manipulating time, warp drives, hyperspace. This safe was pedestrian by comparison. A few minutes later, Grandu finished. Lord Axis, this is a simple spatial container. Its security isn't advanced. With your technology level, you should be able to open it. Axis's patience snapped. Open it now. Don't damage anything inside. Grandu's fingers hovered over the keypad, then pressed a sequence. The scan had already broken the numeric lock. There was no biometric lock, no genetic recognition. Which low-level civilization made something this simple? With a soft click, the safe unlocked. Axis opened the internal spatial field and released the contents into the hall. First, a circular starship, roughly 30 meters across. It was a compact flagship, one of Frieza Legion's leadership vessels, much faster and better equipped than Axis's crude eyeball ship. It boasted an advanced hyperspace engine, numerous battle suits, and energy weapons that outclassed Axis's gear. Inside a huge crate, Axis found several massive sniper rifles, 2 meters long. He remembered stories. King Vegeta had once tried to assassinate Frieza and his son with such a rifle. Frieza had seen him with a scouter and killed him instantly. The rifles were clearly powerful. Saiyans didn't bother with weapons unless they were exceptional. Not bad, Axis thought. Could one of these put down a Primarch with a single shot? Next was a ridiculous item, a huge golden pillow. Axis frowned and lifted it. Mere luxury. The most comfortable pillow in the universe? He muttered, incredulous. King Vegeta had collected something this frivolous? Even Grandu seemed amused. A cloth bag held some small red seeds, slightly smaller than cultivator seeds. Axis had no description and no clue what species they belonged to. King Vegeta collecting seeds was unexpected. The last item made Axis's skin prickle, a crystal sphere filled with swirling purple energy. The violet glow gave him a faint, unpleasant sensation. Above it sat a circular button device, some kind of communicator. Axis read the label, and his expression turned cold. Sweat beaded on his brow. Seventh Universe, God of Destruction Communicator. Chapter 167, Hairless Cat Summoner. God of Destruction Energy, the God of Destruction Communicator. Axis stared at it, stunned. He had never expected King Vegeta's private collection to contain something like this. In the Dragon Ball cosmos, a god of destruction was the absolute ceiling of power, an existence that even the so-called strongest mortal could not match. Even when Granola became the universe's strongest warrior, he remained a mortal in comparison to a god of destruction. Beerus had once boasted he used only 70% of his power, and though later forms like Super Blue, Ultra Instinct, and Ultra Ego put mortals far above ordinary fighters, the manga made it clear. The gods of destruction were in a different class, attended by angels and overseen by the Grand Priest, with the All-King above them all, the only one capable of erasing entire universes. Father, this glass bead houses an extremely unusual energy, Morningstar's core reported, its interface flashing. It is unlike warp energy and different from your chi. Axis's expression didn't change. He closed the little case and tucked the communicator into his pocket. He wouldn't gamble on activating it. If it truly contacted a god of destruction, what then? Summoning Beerus, or some other hairless cat, wouldn't mean rescue. A god of destruction would be far more likely to annihilate this dark universe than save it. Beerus destroyed planets on a whim, when he was in a bad mood, when a meal displeased him, when he was woken, even when he simply disliked someone's face. Every awakening of a god of destruction had frightened rulers. Worse, this was another universe entirely. If angels, the Grand Priest, or the All-King learned of this place and someone decided to visit, a passing quip about "this universe is bleak, let it vanish" could mean total annihilation. That was not an outcome Axis would risk, so the safest course was simple: never use the communicator. Still, the god of destruction energy trapped in the device was invaluable. It could theoretically obliterate matter outright, an energy that could even cancel a chi blast. There were two paths to mastering such power: be apprenticed to an angel and learn under their tutelage, or possess extraordinary innate comprehension and potential and assimilate the energy oneself. The latter was almost unheard of in Dragon Ball canon, though exceptions existed. Frieza's black transformation, for instance, had some link to time rift training and contact with destructive energy. For Axis, this fragment of destructive energy represented a key to future breakthroughs. Once his strength plateaued, this reservoir could be the tool to bridge the gap between mortal and godlike levels. He would not touch it until he had the means to contain it, until he could reach Super Blue or break the Super Saiyan 4 ceiling. If an angel or a World King god could use the communicator as a beacon to traverse here, perhaps Axis, as a native of the Dragon Ball cosmos, could find a way back once he mastered godly power. For now, though, the device would be kept hidden. Axis still coveted another Dragon Ball world artifact above all, the Dragon Balls themselves. He wondered what possibilities they might unlock across universes. The space Necrons watched silently, their metallic forms registering the alien energy with curiosity. They sensed a power Axis level, perhaps close to a star god, beings capable of devastating entire star systems. But their new master's will was absolute. They did not question it. Morningstar, completely dismantle and analyze that alien flagship, Axis ordered, pointing at the spherical Frieza Legion vessel. I want its hyperspace engine and any scientific equipment integrated into our systems. Replicating the eyeball-shaped hyperspace engine on Earth would take too long. Axis preferred to acquire the technology outright. The flagship was tiny compared to Imperial capital ships, a disk barely larger than a Thunderhawk gunship, not a kilometer long, but size was deceptive. Hyperspace engine? Lord Axis, you mean this unremarkable-looking ship houses a hyperspace engine? Grandu, the Time Necron, asked, baffled. Their civilization had bled centuries mastering hyperspace travel, aided by the star god Void Dragon to break cosmic constraints. For such a compact vessel to contain true hyperspace tech was almost absurd. Don't be fooled by its dimensions, Axis said. Its components are advanced. The medical pods, for instance, are originals, not Mechanicus replicas. The combat suits and energy weapons on board are superior as well. Morningstar replied immediately. Understood, Father. I will analyze and integrate the hyperspace engine. Once assimilated, I can reproduce it. I will also reverse engineer the medical pods, energy weapons, and combat suits for mass production. Hyperspace travel was exponentially safer and more reliable than warp travel. If Morningstar could adapt the systems, the Necrons would gain a huge strategic advantage. Within hours, Morningstar began scanning the flagship and initiated a complete dismantling routine. Axis then produced 5 special sniper rifles and 100 rounds of custom ammunition. He kept 2 rifles and 40 rounds for himself and handed the remaining 3 rifles and 60 rounds to Morningstar for analysis and replication. If they could be mass-produced, they would become potent weapons. Replicate these 3 rifles, Axis ordered. I will, Father, Morningstar confirmed. King Vegeta had clearly believed these weapons could threaten Frieza, and Axis agreed their lethality shouldn't be underestimated. He could already activate Super Saiyan, and even stack Super Saiyan 3 if necessary. He could defeat even the Great King in a straight fight. Testing the rifles on himself was possible, but reckless. Better trials would be against Orc war bosses, Tyrannid tyrants, or Chaos Greater Daemons, creatures whose resilience would provide a meaningful benchmark without risking a catastrophic mishap. After overseeing the flagship's dismantling and the weapon's seizure, Axis finally turned his attention to the small red seeds he held. They pulsed faintly with an inner light, unfamiliar yet alive. Were these truly the seeds of a new cultivator? Chapter 168, Spirit Tree Seeds. Fruit of the Gods? The seed's shape was the first thing that struck Axis. Familiar, but wrong. Cultivator seeds were usually round and green. This one was dark red and looked more like a melon seed. Clearly not the same variety. After a moment's thought, Axis ordered the Morningstar to prepare a spacious underground chamber. He had the ship bring up fertile soil and a large supply of nutrient solution. No more questions. Try it and see. If it wasn't a cultivator seed, it wouldn't grow. The Morningstar carried out the orders quickly. Within minutes, the underground room was ready with everything Axis had requested. He left a time Necron in the experimental cabin to study the phase-shifting equipment he had mentioned, but he did not relax his surveillance. Even after establishing a soul bond with that skeleton, Axis knew better than to trust appearances. The ship kept constant monitoring on the time Necron, and Axis planned to cultivate 2 specialized cultivators to station aboard for extra defense. The Morningstar could act autonomously, but additional protective measures were prudent. Axis took a wooden stick, dug a meter-deep hole, planted the red seed, covered it with soil, and watered it with nutrient solution. Then he extended his hand and poured his ki into it. This was an item from the Dragon Ball world. It needed his kai to awaken. The reaction was instantaneous and terrifying. The seed sucked Axis's ki like a breached dam. It devoured life energy far faster than the Emperor ever had. Within seconds, all the fertile soil in the chamber was stripped of life and turned to sand, rock-like grains where once thriving life had been. The seed absorbed the soil's life force at a speed that shocked Axis. Even after draining the life from hundreds of square meters of soil and taking part of his ki, the seed was only semi-activated. It had plumped slightly, but it showed no sign of sprouting. Axis frowned. This seed couldn't be planted in ordinary soil. The nutrients couldn't keep up. If that small chamber fed it so quickly, a planet brimming with life might be required. A thought clicked into place. A planet. He examined the seed more carefully. Could this be the legendary spirit tree, the god fruit tree from the Dragon Ball movies? The fruit only gods could eat. In the film, when Saiyan Turles ate that fruit, his power skyrocketed. Using Kaioken X10, he had beaten Goku and possessed a base power comparable to destroying planets with ease. Axis remembered the ship he had salvaged. Could it have been Turles' vessel? If King Vegeta's case hadn't been taken by him, maybe the fruit would have ended up in Turles' hands. Axis recalled briefly encountering a crab-headed alien and a darker-skinned Saiyan who looked a little like Goku when he stole King Vegeta's equipment, but he'd knocked them out without much thought. Now it made sense. He must have absconded with something Turles had, and that something might be this very spirit tree seed. Would it be useful? Back when Axis first transmigrated, such a fruit would have been invaluable. Eat it and gain tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of combat power. But now, millions or tens of millions of power meant little to him. Still, as a rare treasure from another world, he wanted to plant it and see what it would do. In the Dragon Ball universe, these spirit fruits clearly referenced the peaches of immortality and other mythical fruits. Perhaps they did more than increase power. Maybe they could augment life force too. The spirit tree was a god's tree. If that god was a destroyer or a world-level deity, the tree would demand a planet with overwhelmingly strong life energy to grow. Morning Star, Axis asked, when you were wandering after you left me, did you encounter any planets with vigorous life force? Father, the Morning Star replied, during the 10 years I was away, I cataloged many planets. Tell me your target constraints. Uninhabited by humans, preferably alien life only, or no intelligent life at all. Not within the Imperium's maps. Most important, abundant life, many plants and animals. Understood, Father. I will search the database. The Morning Star scanned its records. I have 3 candidates, distances of 172, 3,456, and 5,660 light-years from our current position. Tell me about the closest one. The 172 light-year one. If we depart now, travel will take roughly 7 to 8 days. It's not inhabited by intelligent life. It's Mars-sized and is a moon of a gas giant. The Morning Star presented star charts and ecological readings. The system was a red dwarf, dim, with many dead worlds. This moon, however, was uncharted by humanity. That'll do. Depart immediately. Maximum speed, Axis ordered. Understood, Father. Initiating warp. Estimated arrival in 175 hours. Axis only intended to be gone a short time. A little over 10 days' absence was manageable. He still told Kasha through a psychic warp link that he'd be gone for about 20 days and asked her to press on with establishing their homeworld while he was away. I understand, Axis. I'll handle the homeworld. Be careful, Kasha replied. With farewells done, the Morning Star engaged its warp drive at full thrust. The ship's defenses were stronger than Imperial vessels. In addition to a Geller field, it had a black stone matrix to isolate warp prying, and Axis could link psychically to the Astronomicon of Holy Terra if needed. After a day and a bit of travel, the Morning Star dropped out of the warp into an uncharted red dwarf system. The ship's sensors had identified the green, life-rich moon Axis required. Axis piloted a small transport down to the emerald green world. It was vibrant, towering trees, dense forests, and a panoply of strange flora and fauna. The site reminded him of Pandora from the old tales. He chose a secluded spot on a central continent, landed, and planted the spirit tree seed in the planet's soil. He poured his key into it again. This time the seed's growth was obscene. Roots shot into the ground instantly, knitting themselves into a ravenous network that tunneled deep and fast, eventually aiming toward the planet's core. The tree grew before his eyes, plunging its life-siphoning roots into everything it touched. The entire planet's life energy was drawn into the seed. Animals were caught in the advancing root system and drained of vitality as the roots wrapped and sucked. Axis hovered above the world, watching in silence. The seed absorbed life with catastrophic efficiency. The planet he had picked to host the spirit tree had just been sentenced to oblivion. He watched the green world with neither glee nor pity, only the cold, measured certainty that this was what the seed needed. The planet met its doomsday beneath the sprouting godly tree. Chapter 169. Plant the Spirit Tree. The spirit tree exploded into life, and with it, the planet's ecosystem began to collapse. The tree's roots spread at an impossible rate, burrowing through the crust and plunging to the core in minutes, drinking the planet's life force like a siphon. Lakes and rivers boiled and exhaled white steam that the tree greedily absorbed. Clear waters turned to cracked beds. The ground quaked and spiderwebbed with fissures, and from those cracks poured not lava, but ribbons of green energy, pure life essence, that flowed like guided threads into the tree's vast root network. Branches shot upward, foliage blotting out half the sky. From orbit, the thing was unmistakable, a colossal tree with dark red shimmering bark, each pulse accompanied by the planet's tremor. As its trunk punched through the thinning atmosphere, the planet's temperature plummeted. Axis felt a violent energy fluctuation, an unmistakable sign the tree was maturing. He watched, excited. A tree that could consume a world possessed an almost obscene reservoir of life. Growth was astonishing. In a blink, the tree topped 20,000 meters and kept climbing. 3 days later, it ceased expanding at roughly 40,000 meters. But by then, the planet was dead. Once fertile land reduced to charred, blackened waste, the air thick with sulfur, ocean and atmosphere gone. The spirit tree had to strip the entire world to bear fruit. Axis judged that the tree could have taken more, but this planet had already given all it could. The fruit here would be only mid-grade, not the supreme variety, but it would be more than enough. Unlike ordinary fruit that hang on branches, the spirit tree's fruit were born inside a cavernous hollow in the trunk. If they had grown on the branches, their numbers would have been terrifying. Collecting them would take Axis days even at his speed. Instead, he flew into the cavern, where dark red, spiky fruits hung everywhere and filled the air with a heady scent. Each shimmered with a raw life aura. At a glance, Axis counted hundreds. He plucked one and bit in. Sweet pulp melted on his tongue. Warmth flooded his limbs. The massive key he'd spent raising the tree roared back, and then some. His reserves not only restored, but slightly increased. No wonder they call it a god's fruit, he thought. The effect went beyond a simple power boost. Axis estimated a single mid-grade fruit from this dead world would raise someone's combat power by at least 100,000. A prime fruit grown on a true life planet, Earth's equivalent, might grant 400,000 to 500,000 or more. And those still aren't the highest grade spirit tree fruits. The perfect fruit should grow on worlds where gods dwell, the realm of a world king god or a god of destruction. Seeds like this only take root by siphoning an entire planet's life when they appear scattered in the void. In a god world, that wholesale plundering wouldn't be necessary. He thought of Turles, how that scoundrel once used similar fruit in Dragon Ball Heroes to rival Super Saiyan forms. The potential here was limitless. Even Axis, a Super Saiyan 3-level fighter, could gain from it. Axis remembered other universe fruit used to increase power, Khorne's golden fruits in the Snakeway episode, grown for King Yemma and capable of boosting strength. Compared to spirit tree fruit, those were trivial, Kelvin-level benefits versus galaxy-scale power. The golden fruit increased power only slightly, took ages to grow, but didn't wreck the environment. The spirit tree's price was planetary death, but as a weapon against something like the Tyranids, it was devastatingly efficient. Better to harvest a planet yourself than let an endless biomass swarm strip it bare. In a warped way, planting a spirit tree was a safe, targeted exterminatus. The planet is consumed, yes, but the nutrients and power are kept, not handed to a ravenous enemy. Axis briefly toyed with darker ideas, planting one in Nurgle's garden or Tzeentch's realm, then discarded them. The Chaos God's domains sit in the warp. They lack a physical substrate. Those gardens are conceptual. Spirit trees require real, physical soil. Planting them in the warp would be impossible, and besides, that would be aiding the enemy. He set to harvesting. Inside the hollow, the fruits were everywhere. Axis blurred into after-images, ripping them free. 10 minutes later, he'd scoured the chamber. He had over 500 fruits. He loaded them onto the transport ship and departed. With the fruit gone, the tree's life faded quickly, and it began to wither, sharing the planet's fate. All the stolen life was now concentrated in those fruits. Truly astonishing, great father, the Morning Star spoke over the ship's intercom. Axis could hear her watching the aftermath from orbit. There is such a plant in the universe, devouring a planet's life in days. It's terrifying. It's a rare treasure, Axis agreed. But there's a problem. I can eat it and benefit, an ordinary person might not. The fruits were laced with life energy and ki. In the Dragon Ball world, eating them naturally enhanced one's ki and surged combat power. People in Axis's world don't all manifest ki. 2 outcomes were possible when someone tried to consume such condensed life force. 1. The body could absorb it and undergo a tremendous leap, gaining near Primarch vitality and vastly extended lifespan. A mortal who withstood the infusion might live 10,000 years and gain a body stronger than an Imperial Guard veteran. It would be a supercharged longevity elixir, perhaps rivaling or exceeding the best of the Imperial Guard. 2. Ordinary physiology could not cope, and the influx would tear someone apart. Axis figured even a space marine might not survive the raw surge. This was the life force of an entire planet, split across only a few hundred fruits, each fruit's energy beyond ordinary imagining. By Axis's reckoning, only a handful in the Imperium could ingest these safely, a gene seed Primarch, the Emperor himself, and maybe Kasha or his cultivator, who wielded Ki and could convert the energy. The fruit also seemed to heal. When Axis's Kai had been drained to plant the tree, it had recovered instantly after eating. The Morning Star noted that it restored his energy and aided physical recovery. In effect, a spirit tree fruit could act as an emergency senzu bean, though far more powerful. Khorne's beans are a miraculous Dragon Ball anomaly. This fruit sat on a higher plane. He had also found 2 black seeds inside the fragment of fruit he'd eaten. They were smaller than the original red seeds, looking like a degraded lower-tier version. Each fruit appeared to produce 2 seeds. Axis wondered what King Vegeta had intended with the seeds he'd once been given, likely unaware of their true function. Had King Vegeta known, he might have planted them across the universe. A thought crystallized. If the seeds could be weakened generation by generation, maybe a version suitable for mortals could be cultivated. Axis held a red spirit tree fruit, spiky and dragon fruit-like, and smiled. Morning Star, begin the return. Warp to Nuceria. Now, he ordered. Understood, Father. Initiating warp. The ship tore a hole through real space and dove into the warp. Axis set up in a kitchen-like lab. He wasn't after arcane formulas. He would use the simplest method. He took a juicer, split a fruit, pocketed the 2 seeds, and pulped the rest into the machine. He added water. The life energy of a single fruit was too intense for ordinary consumption, but diluted into juice, a small sip would be safe and still useful. It might not provide the full effect, but it could yield a tempered benefit, exactly what he wanted to test. The Saiyan solution was primitive but practical. Dilute the life, measure the thresholds, and see if a weaker, safer version of the spirit tree's power could be produced for everyday use. The spirit tree fruit tasted incredible, unimaginably sweet, the flesh melting and filling the air with a rich, intoxicating aroma. Juiced, it should be even better. Axis could use his chi to strengthen his gene seed offspring, but doing it personally or having cultivators do it was tedious and slow. Even at his best, outside of eating and sleeping, he could only strengthen a few dozen people a day, and to reach a 20 to 30% improvement would take 1 or 2 months of continuous work. Cultivators were far slower and less effective. If this mental tree fruit juice could be used on his gene seed offspring, it would be perfect. From 1 spirit tree fruit Axis extracted roughly half a liter of juice. He diluted it heavily, first adding several hundred milliliters of water, then more, until the concentration reached about 1/10 of the original. At that strength, it ought to be safe for Space Marines to take. Mortals would be tested back on Nuceria. The gladiators there had physiques far superior to ordinary humans, good candidates for trials. Axis still had over 500 spirit tree fruits and 4 black, inferior-grade mental tree seeds. He planned to plant the seeds. If they produced defective trees, their fruits could still be diluted and used to strengthen mortal troops and gene seed offspring. After 8.5 days of warp travel, Axis's ship dropped back out of the warp above Nuceria. Including the time spent planting and the round trip, he had been away 21 days. He left the Morning Star, cloaked in orbit while it slowly analyzed the hyperspace drive, combat suits, and energy weapons, then returned to the Legion headquarters, still under construction, carrying his sniper rifle, the harvested fruits, and bottles of diluted spirit tree juice. The Mechanicus had already begun transforming Nuceria. Parties of tech priests had arrived and were reshaping the planet. Kasha had ordered Axis's gene seed offspring to suppress the various continents' factions. On his return, Axis appeared before all the gene seed offspring with Kasha at his side, gave a brief speech, then went back to his quarters. "You're back just in time, Axis. What did you bring?" Kasha asked. "I'm very curious." Axis took a red fruit from his pack and handed it to her. "Something good. Try this." Kasha stared at the fruit. "You went out for over 20 days just to get a fruit? It's called a spirit tree fruit. The fruit of gods, Axis said. Not gods like warp entities, just a name. It contains a tremendous amount of life energy. If an ordinary person could assimilate it, they might live 10,000 years, or even 20 or 30,000. Try a bite. Kasha sniffed, and the scent alone made her whole body vibrate. The exhaustion of governing and commanding the past weeks slid away. She felt alert and light. Skeptical, she took a modest bite. The flesh dissolved on her tongue, tender, smooth, and astonishingly delicious. When she swallowed, a surge of life force rolled through her like a tide. It cleansed and bolstered her, a pleasure so intense she could have closed her eyes and simply basked in it. When Kasha opened her eyes, she felt power spread through every limb. Her physical quality had jumped at least twofold. She had already been strengthened by Axis's chi for decades, beyond typical space marines, and now she reckoned herself on par with a custodian, maybe even slightly stronger. "This is incredible," she breathed. "Where did you find something like this? How many do you have?" "Only this one." "I cultivated these and brought some from my home," Axis replied. "I've got over 500. Take one bite a day for the rest of the week, and you'll finish it in 7 or 8 days. When you've finished, your physical quality should be at Primarch level." Primarch level? Kasha's eyes widened. "So I could make my own gene seed offspring? Have a female Astartes legion?" "Don't jump ahead," Axis said. "The fruit can raise your physical attributes to Primarch level, but it doesn't change your nature. You're not a gene seed Primarch. Your genes aren't engineered to produce Astartes. This strengthens you. It doesn't transform you into something that can generate gene seed." Kasha looked a little disappointed, but she understood. Still, amazing. "There's more," Axis said, producing a bottle of diluted red liquid. "I made juice from them and diluted it. I intend to distribute this to the Legion's gene seed offspring." Kasha laughed. "Juicing and diluting them? Of course. That's so you, Axis. It's ridiculous, and at the same time, the most scientific approach." Axis nodded and summoned 10 veterans from his Golden Legion, former space wolves who had replaced their gene seed and been further strengthened by Axis's chi. Their physical quality already exceeded ordinary space marines by 30 to 40%. He also called 10 fresh recruits, new Astartes whose only advantage was golden transformation, but who were otherwise ordinary. He set out 20 cups and poured about 5 milliliters of the diluted red liquid into each. "This is a new oral strengthening agent. Drink and report how much it boosts you," he instructed. He wanted to test a small dose first. If 5 milliliters worked reliably, one fruit, when juiced and diluted, might strengthen 200 gene seed offspring. 10 fruits could do 2,000, 100 fruits 20,000. His 200,000-strong legion would need roughly 1,000 fruits. "The great Gene Father." The 10 veterans saluted, took their cups, and drank. Within moments, the veterans' bodies changed. A faint current of life energy traced through them and then began reinforcing their physical forms. Muscles swelled visibly, veins stood proud across their skin. "The great Gene Father. I feel incredible," Odoro reported. "My physical quality, it's about 2.5 times that of an ordinary space marine." "Exactly," another Golden Legion company commander agreed. "It's roughly doubled overall. If I activate Golden Transformation, I believe I can push the limit to 5 times, and the transformation duration will be longer." Axis nodded with satisfaction and told the 10 new recruits to drink. They complied, and although their improvements were not as pronounced as the veterans, lacking the prior chi enhancements, they still gained significantly. Ordinary new recruits rose to roughly twice their previous strength. Those already strengthened by Axis's chi saw an increase closer to 2.5 times. In both cases, the juice enhanced the effectiveness of the golden transformation. Axis watched the troops test the juice and felt a quiet, practical confidence. If the diluted spirit tree juice worked this well at tiny doses, it could change the balance of power in his legion without the painstaking day-by-day work he alone could provide. Chapter 171. Give the fruit of the spirit tree as a gift and ask Gilliman for internal affairs talent? This boost was enormous, enough to perform a perfect 5-fold golden transformation. Axis estimated his gene seed progeny could now take on the Custodes alone. "You may all leave now," Axis said with a nod. He still needed to find a suitable world for another planting, this time a large planet. Around 1,000 spirit tree fruits would be enough to fully strengthen his entire legion. As new recruits joined, there would be plenty of worlds devastated in the Great Crusade on which he could try planting again. Axis, aren't you going to send some of these to my gene father? Kasha asked. She was being filial. With something this valuable, her first thought was to help her father Neos. That's not impossible. I'll send one to the Emperor, one to Russ, one to Magnus, and one to Lion L. Johnson, Axis replied. He had no intention of hiding the fruits. His own sons would be using them, but he wouldn't hand over the seeds. The seeds had to be removed, so the core technique stayed with him. Besides, without sufficient chi, no one could successfully plant a spirit tree. His cultivators didn't have the reserves to support its growth, and if multiple fruits were grown on the same planet, each additional fruit eaten would have a diminishing effect. Eating too many would be wasteful. You should add one more and send two, Kasha said. Magnus, Leman Russ, and Lion all have their cultivators. This fruit works even better for cultivators under your influence. You're right, Axis nodded. Then I'll send two to each, and my father will get 3. One for each Primarch and one for their cultivators. Ideal. Russ had 2 cultivators, so Axis decided to send 3 there. Once consumed, their combat power should increase so dramatically that, combined with the Primarch, they could overwhelm his gene father. You should send a few more for my father, Kasha urged. You've got to show respect. You're his son-in-law, after all. If word got out about the fruit's efficacy, the Emperor might well hand supplies to Horus, and giving only one would look stingy. All right. The Emperor will get 3 as well, just like Russ, Axis said with a grin. After they finished arranging the gifts, Axis used warp psychic communication to notify the Emperor, Magnus, and Lionel Johnson. He also sent a message to Russ, telling them he had a miraculous gift en route. Several of his gene seed sons boarded cruisers and took charge of the deliveries to make sure the fruits reached their destinations intact. Where did you get these? Are there any left? If not, you should use them as rewards for the Legion, Kasha said. Even 500 fruits wouldn't be enough for 200,000 Marines, especially as the numbers kept growing. Don't worry, Axis answered. I know how to plant them, but the method is demanding. That's good. Could we cultivate some on Nuceria? Kasha asked. No, a planet can only be planted once at most. Planting is equivalent to a super exterminatus. The tree consumes the planet's life as nourishment. Where else would it draw that much life force? Axis explained, and told Kasha how the spirit tree was planted. Kasha's face went pale. You mean the planting destroys an entire planet? Those 500+ fruits came at the cost of a whole world? That's why they're so precious. In the future, these will mostly be reserved for Primarchs. Ordinary Marines, except in my own legion, won't get them, Axis said. The requirement for planting was strict. An agricultural world, hive world, forge world, or mining world wouldn't provide enough concentrated life force. It took a world's entire vitality. So it truly is a form of exterminatus, one that needs your chi, Kasha murmured. No wonder it's priceless. By the way, I have other presents for you. Axis opened his case and produced a massive sniper rifle, nearly 2 meters long. A special sniper rifle? Kasha's eyes lit up. Very special. Its sniping power is enormous. I estimate even a Primarch couldn't survive a direct hit, Axis said. Kasha nodded. There are weapons that can fell Primarchs, some assassin tools, or power weapons that breach armor. It's not unheard of. A hit is usually all it takes. This one's different. I intend it for our top snipers, for assassinating certain high-value targets, Axis said. Save one for me, Kasha said. I'm very good with firearms. As the Empire's eldest princess and a psychic master, I can serve as a sniper if needed. No problem. Axis handed her the rifle and 20 rounds. Next, besides developing our homeworld, we need to send our legion on crusade. Kasha hesitated a moment, then proposed something Axis had been overlooking. I have a suggestion about planetary administration. We're short on civil talent. You should ask other Primarchs to send internal affairs specialists. Axis looked at her. Who are we to each other? Speak. We simply lack civilian administrators, she said. I can help, but I'm not a professional administrator, and I'll be at your side on campaigns. Imperial law prevents space marines from directly governing mortal populations, so we need a cadre of internal affairs experts to manage Nuceria. Training them locally will take too long. It's faster to bring experienced personnel from elsewhere. That's a good idea, Axis agreed. Who should we ask? Lionel Johnson, Leman Russ, Magnus? Kasha rolled her eyes. No, those worlds don't have spare administrators. Caliban, Fenris, Prospero, they can barely handle their own needs. Especially Fenris. Where would they find civil talent? Then who? Axis asked. Have you forgotten who's the best at running worlds? Which Primarch governs the richest, most orderly sector? Kasha smiled. Gilliman, the Ultramar 500 worlds. They're the example in governance. They could provide the best internal affairs talent. Though they're called the 500 worlds, they actually govern over 1,000 planets. If you ask Gilliman for a dozen administrators, he won't refuse. Axis considered it. Indeed, Ultramar was the model. All right, but I'll have to send Gilliman a spirit tree fruit too. I don't like owing favors. Kasha's smile widened. The plan was set. Send out the gifts, recruit Ultramar's administrators, and continue building Nuceria into a power capable of sustaining Axis's ambitions. Chapter 172, The Fruit of God That Surprised the Emperor, Yinren, Major Revision. You're really generous, but since you gave the fruit to Gilliman, the other Primarchs will hear about it. What are you going to do? Kasha asked. People noticed favors. If you favor one and not the others, it bred resentment. I don't know most of them, Axis said. Apart from Horus and Rogel Dorn, whom he had met once, the only Primarchs he was even somewhat familiar with were his adoptive father Russ, Magic Pony, and Lionel Johnson. Even Chagatai Khan had been a single encounter. Why should he send gifts to strangers? This is a good way to get on their good side, Kasha countered. You can use it as an introduction to the other Primarchs. Besides, you have over 500 of these spirit tree fruits. That's a huge number. We can keep planting them, so they won't be that precious. If there were only a handful, I wouldn't suggest giving them away. Maybe one to the Emperor and one to Russ, and keep the rest. But with sustainable planting and hundreds in reserve, you can afford to be generous. These fruits will ultimately strengthen your whole legion, and the other Primarchs will find out about them eventually. If they think you hoarded them, it'll look bad. Axis considered it. He didn't care about offending others, but optics mattered. Fine, send 2 to Gilliman and 1 to each of the other Primarchs as a meet and greet, he said. That amounted to 10 or so fruits. Acceptable. As long as he found a suitable planet to plant on, he could produce hundreds more. And for traitorous Primarchs, he had no qualms about strengthening them. He could deal with them later. Even if they grew stronger, Axis believed he would still defeat them. His strength was second only to the Emperor at full power, and only a few knew the truth. The Emperor, Prime Minister Ma, Kasha, and Lionel Johnson. Axis was the Emperor's hidden trump card. You can't be stingy, Kasha said. Generosity pays off. Axis nodded. With his overall physique doubled by the fruit and the golden transformation on top of that, his legion would be unstoppable against ordinary original Space Marines. They could easily take on 10 at a time. Short of the new Primaris Marines, other legions would not match his gene seed offspring. Actually, Kasha added, I think you should wait before strengthening everyone with the full strength juice. Don't let the other Primarchs notice too quickly. For now, the golden transformation alone is fine, or dilute the fruit further. Instead of doubling everyone, give them a smaller boost, 30 or 40%, enough to replicate the effects of Chi. Why hide it? If it's good, shouldn't we use it? Axis replied. As a Saiyan, he disliked secrecy. Other Primarchs being jealous or suspicious was not his concern. We can ambush them, Kasha said. We already know half the Primarchs will betray the Emperor. Prepare in secret. The fruit works fast. A legion can be strengthened in days. Imagine the surprise when the traitors arrive and your gene seed troops are suddenly leagues ahead. No one will expect such a gap. To fully strengthen an entire legion probably required 1,000 fruits, and future recruits would need more. They didn't have that many now, so it made sense to slow production, plant and accumulate enough so the fruits were available when needed. Even extras could be shared with other loyalists later. The look on the traitors' faces would be priceless. Axis thought it over. A crushing ambush would be devastating, but exposure beforehand would ruin it. Even if he could personally crush them, the galaxy was vast. His gene seed troops could be needed in distant sectors. Science could be fast, but they weren't instant. Apart from him and cultivators, no one in the galaxy had ki to assist in instant jumps. You're right, we'll dilute it. Let's aim to strengthen the whole legion using about 200 fruits for now, raising everyone to approximately chi level enhancement, Axis said. A few days later, Axis sent a formal psychic request through the Emperor's Psyker to Makraj, the heart of Ultramar, asking for internal affairs personnel. Makraj replied quickly. Guilliman wasn't on Makraj, he was out on the Great Crusade. The request would be reported, and they would await his orders. A few days after that, Guilliman authorized 200 administrative personnel. After training, they would be sent within a year to help Axis manage Nuceria's development. Axis began working with Mechanicus tech priests and the support teams the Emperor had provided. They started transforming Nuceria, establishing a space marine fortress, building a starport for large ships, and salvaging local Dark Age of technology artifacts. The first finds were disturbing and useful. They recovered butcher's nails, implants designed to strip emotion away until only rage remained, intended to turn gladiators into mindless killers. Axis dismissed them as barbaric and useless to him. The second discovery was a gene enhancement machine used by the planet's slave masters to turn guards and gladiators into superhuman bruisers. Axis secured a couple of body enhancement machines and handed them to the Mars Mechanicum personnel for study. He gave other scattered gadgets to the Star of Chen-Shi to replicate. Axis also began recruiting locally. He met with gladiators and selected several young fighters to join his Legion's new recruit transformation program. For 3 months, he was busy on Nuceria. During that time, spirit tree fruits were sent out to the Emperor and to the other Primarchs, while the administration staff from Makraj prepared to depart. The effects of the spirit tree fruit were astonishing. After eating them, hidden chronic injuries healed and physical fitness doubled. Nearly every Primarch who consumed one sent Axis a grateful message, asking where the fruit came from. Even the Emperor, astonished, opened psychic communication to inquire. Axis, where did you find this miraculous fruit? The Emperor asked. Its effects amaze me. It can double a Primarch's physique and even affects me. It's a remarkable life extender. An ordinary person drinking a sip infused with it could gain months of life if they absorbed it properly. Adding 20,000 years or more to a lifespan would not be impossible. Axis had sent the Emperor 3 fruits. The Emperor ate one and began researching the other. He quickly realized he'd never seen anything like it in his countless years, a god-tier fruit with unmatched restorative power. If this had been available when he was creating the Primarchs, its utility would have been immense. "They're treasures I found on a planet," Axis said. "They're called spirit tree fruit, also known as the fruit of God." "The fruit of God," the Emperor repeated. "How is it cultivated?" Unlike the gifts to other Primarchs, the fruits Axis gave the Emperor included seeds, but the Emperor could not make them grow. The seeds needed Axis's chi to activate them. Without that nourishment, they would not germinate. "The cultivation conditions are severe," Axis explained, as Kasha had insisted. "No one in the universe can plant them except me. They require activation by chi and the sacrifice of a living planet, one with exceptionally strong life force." The Emperor absorbed this. Sacrificing an entire planet and requiring Axis's unique chi were indeed extreme conditions. "I understand. This fruit can't be planted casually," he said. "If we're ever going to exterminate us a planet," Axis went on, "we could use this instead. I can handle the planting. It would be cleaner than bombarding a world with cyclonic torpedoes, and we'd get something useful out of it." The Emperor considered the suggestion. It was an efficient idea, but Exterminatus could not be employed lightly. Exterminatus must be strictly controlled. Only worlds beyond salvation can be sacrificed. "This fruit is useful, but giving up a planet is a high price. How many do you have?" "I have over 500, Axis said. He then told the Emperor about Kasha's plan to use the fruits for a surprise strengthening of his troops. The Emperor's eyes lit up at the idea. A sudden boost in strength would be a devastating advantage, especially if the traitors were not prepared. The Emperor's divinations about the Great Heresy had been clouded, Angron's betrayal had occurred, and many unpredictable elements had shifted. Preparing was prudent. Above all, he could trust Axis. Publicly, claim you found a little more than 100 in some ancient ruin, the Emperor advised. I'll help conceal the rest. Axis agreed. After a few final exchanges, he ended the communication and continued replying to the many Primarchs who wanted to know more. Guilliman was particularly interested. He had 2 fruits, and after doubling his strength, he realized the fruit's life energy could extend lifespan. He immediately thought of Udun, his adoptive mother, and wanted to use the fruit to prolong her life. He would need to consult Axis about the exact method. Chapter 173, Lady Talasha Udon, Guilliman owes you a favor. His adoptive mother, Talasha Udon, had been the housekeeper for his father, Consul Connor. When he was a child, Connor gave him a father's love, and it was Talasha who gave him a mother's. Time, however, had not been kind. She was now well over 200 years old, and many conventional human life extension procedures no longer worked as effectively on her. Although she still looked like a woman in her 40s, the rejuvenation doctors estimated she had at most another 100 years. To Guilliman, a gene seed Primarch, a century was woefully short. He had long been searching for a way to prolong his adoptive mother's life, and now an opportunity had finally appeared. According to his calculations, if Talasha could consume this special fruit he had obtained, she might live 10,000 years or more, enough for her to remain by his side indefinitely. The fruit had only just been acquired, and its properties were not fully understood. It pulsed with such potent vital energy that ordinary mortals could not safely consume it. Guilliman was unwilling to risk damaging the precious item through experimentation. The safest option was to seek help from Axis, who had sent the fruit. Don't worry, my lord. This old body of mine can last another 100 years or so. I think you should eat this miraculous fruit yourself. Its benefits to you are obvious, Talasha said, standing beside Guilliman. Since he had come of age, Guilliman had stopped calling her mother. He addressed her as Ms. Udon, and during his rebellious youth, he had even called her simply woman. Talasha always smiled it off. Those were the foolish phases every boy went through. After Consul Connor's assassination and Guilliman's ascent to rule the Ultramar of 500 worlds, she always styled him my lord. Even when he asked her to use his given name, she refused. She insisted he call her Miss, and forbade him from calling her mother in public. Years of noble schooling as a housekeeper had taught her the importance of proper address and hierarchy. Private affection did not erase public decorum. Ms. Udon, I don't want it for myself. I care more about you, Guilliman said, looking at her. You have grown up. You are not only the consul of the Ultramar, but a Primarch of the Imperium. You must think of yourself, too, she replied with a gentle smile. Talasha had never married. For a time she had waited for Connor, turning away other suitors, but they never ended up together. She remained a housekeeper and companion to father and son, an influence on Guilliman that had been deep and constant. It had been Talasha who persuaded him to establish the Second Empire. Her counsel had shaped him. The records after the Great Heresy make no grim note of her end. Guilliman's memories held no painful images of her, so whatever her fate had been, it had been peaceful. Lord Guilliman, a message from the Psyker court, a space marine reported, bowing on one knee. Lord Axis has agreed to meet with you. Good, Guilliman said. Wait here for a moment, Miss Udon. I'll find the right way to use this fruit. Guilliman went at once to the Psyker court, accompanied by his gene seed offspring. A Psyker bowed to him and relayed Axis's words. Lord Axis asked me to tell you that obtaining more of these fruits will be difficult. He has only found a few, and the remainder is intended to strengthen his legion's gene seed offspring. He cannot share more. Guilliman shook his head. The fruit was priceless, and more would be welcome, but he had only one question. Please tell Lord Axis I'm not asking for another fruit, he said. I want to know whether ordinary mortals can consume it. The Psyker nodded and opened a relay to Axis. Axis expected as much. The extra fruit in Guilliman's possession would surely be offered first to the one person the Primarch cared most about, Talasha. Axis remembered her, important to Guilliman, long-lived and advanced in age since the Great Heresy. He also knew that as the adoptive mother of a Primarch, she had received among the best life extension care available. Axis's reply was careful. The spirit tree fruit was extremely difficult for mortals to ingest, even for his own gene seed offspring. To use it as a body-strengthening agent required extreme dilution, perhaps 10,000-fold or more, and delicate control. The process was dangerous and would demand extensive experimentation, particularly if the subject was an elderly, frail woman. The psyker relayed this to Guilliman, then glanced at his console and sent another message. Lord Axis, Lord Guilliman asks if you would help. This concerns his adoptive mother's life. If you are willing, Lord Guilliman will owe you a favor. He will be prepared to assist you with any request. That prospect pleased Axis. Mortals simply could not tolerate the raw potency of the fruit. But Axis had another means, his key. He could use it to fortify and nourish a mortal body, lifting it to a level where the diluted fruit could be safely absorbed. He had done something similar with Kasha, whose body, once only marginally stronger than a human's, had been elevated by Axis's chi over many years to a level that rivaled custodes and even primarchs. Chi was now an acknowledged force among Imperium officials. Its application was no longer a secret. Very well, Axis said. I have a special method that will allow your adoptive mother to consume the fruit safely. The process is lengthy. When the psyker asked how long, Axis estimated roughly 10 years. Only after a decade of chi nurturing would Talasha's body be strengthened to something like the level of a custodes. Only then could she absorb the spirit tree fruit safely and reap its full life-extending properties. Guilliman sent his thanks and promised a reply the following day. Axis conveyed his respects and withdrew. Carrying the remaining spirit tree fruit, Guilliman hurried back to Macragge and to Talasha. He could not wait to share the news. Miss Udon, I have good news, he said. Axis does have a way to let you absorb the fruit safely. He can use chi to strengthen your body, and then you can take the fruit. If it works, your physique will rival the custodes. Talasha blinked, incredulous. Rival the custodes? Does it really take that long? 10 years to prepare you properly, Guilliman replied. She shook her head. Forget it. I won't leave your side for 10 years. Miss Udon, Guilliman said, earnest, you are my most trusted advisor and housekeeper. My life ahead needs you. I don't want you with me for merely a short century. Please let me keep you longer. Think of it as a pleasant journey, just 10 years. Talasha looked at him, and for a moment the years between them hung in the air. The quiet bond of guardian and charge, the cost of extending a life that had already given so much. Chapter 174, Axis's favorite warrior, Khorne. You really are an overgrown child, my lord. You should learn to be independent, Miss Tarasha Udon said, looking at Guilliman with fond exasperation. As his housekeeper and adoptive mother, she had never dared to hope for immortality. Yet Guilliman had just told her that if she absorbs the power of the spirit tree fruit, her lifespan could extend into the tens of thousands of years. But I want you to stay by my side. Forgive me, I'm an overgrown child, Guilliman said warmly. All right, if that's what you want, I'll bother Mr. Axis a bit and stay at his place for a while. Ms. Udon replied with a smile. You're not old at all, my lady. You don't have a single gray hair. You look no more than 30 or 40. I remember when you were young, you were a great beauty. There were suitors lined up outside. I still remember them asking me what you liked, all trying to curry favor, Guilliman added. No woman dislikes being praised for her beauty, no matter her age. My lord, your words are as sweet as ever. I missed you when you were little. You were so spoiled with me then. I truly hope I can one day raise your son, Miss Udon said softly. That was a mother's wish, to hold her grandchildren. If she could truly live for over 10,000 years, perhaps she could see that day. In 10,000 years, Guilliman would surely find someone he loved, wouldn't he? I hope that day comes too, Guilliman said, but he knew it might never. Geneseed Primarchs didn't have ordinary sons. They had geneseed offspring. Ordinary human society had no compatible females. Though a Primarch might be human in body, to ordinary people they were gods. And the Emperor's teachings dismissed all other races as Xenos. Thinking about finding a partner among other races was unthinkable. After Guilliman's persuasion, Missy Tarasha Udon agreed to accompany the Internal Affairs talent team to Nuceria. The next day, Gilliman had a psyker relay the message to Axis. His adoptive mother would be visiting Nuceria, and he asked Axis to take good care of her. Axis's reply was interesting. Since Gilliman's adoptive mother was coming, she wouldn't need to bring her own spirit tree fruit. Axis would prepare one for her. The other spirit tree fruit could stay with Gilliman. Why did you agree to pick up his adoptive mother? Kasha asked later. You're going to take part in the Great Crusade soon, and you've got many secrets around you. Do you really plan to use Chi to strengthen her? That's a privilege no other Gene Seed Primarch has. Only the Emperor received Chi strengthening for 10 years. I've already agreed. I can't easily decline. Besides, I can only strengthen her for a little over 10 minutes a day. That's about my limit. I could have a cultivator do the job, but Gilliman's favor is far more valuable, Axis said. As for the Great Crusade, my Legion offspring will go. According to the rules for Gene Seed Primarchs, I can stay on my world for 10 years to develop it. Now Axis commanded a full Astartes Legion that could deploy under his orders, splitting into dozens of units to strike across the galaxy. Per the Emperor's rules, Axis could either build on his homeworld or go out to war, except for extremely dangerous missions he did not plan to personally lead. If he did, the Legion offspring would become the cleanup force, and his first batch of Wolfguard Gene Seed offspring were veterans at that. I'm worried, Kasha said hesitantly. Speak plainly. I don't like beating around the bush, Axis replied. I heard Miss Yudin is a great beauty. When you strengthen her with Chi, there will inevitably be some intimate actions, Kasha blurted. Axis laughed. What are you talking about? Would I be interested in an older woman? She's a mother, all right. What kind of jealousy is this? Besides, I'm actually older than Miss Yudin. Only my appearance stays at 20 because I'm immortal. Even if I wanted a mistress, I wouldn't choose someone who's already been a mother, especially someone with a son a century old. How about this? You can be by my side every time I strengthen her with Chi, Axis said with a teasing edge. Women's jealousy could flare up from nowhere. That's more like it. Oh, and 3 months have passed. All the superhuman organ gene sequences in the Warhound's Legion have been fully replaced with yours. They can perform the golden transformation now, Kasha reported. Good, then send them on missions. Also, there's a captain in the 8th Assault Company named Khorne. Find him for me, Axis said. Khorne was remarkable. If his fate hadn't been altered, he would have become a Khorne chosen. As a gladiator, his actions had won Angron's acknowledgement of the 12th Legion. Talented on a level with Abaddon, Typhus, Araman, and Lucius, his combat prowess was second only to Abaddon. Axis wanted this man close at hand, to train him personally and strengthen his body with Chi to keep him from falling to chaos. Khorne? I remember such a person in the Warhounds. Why him? Kasha asked. I've been reviewing the Warhound's data. This captain is a superb combatant. I met him briefly and had a premonition. He'll become one of my strongest Gene Seed offspring, Axis said offhandedly. Kasha nodded and notified military affairs to summon Khorne. Not long after, a hulking man, 2.5 meters tall, all explosive muscle, came before Axis and knelt on one knee. Great Gene Father, you wished to see me? Khorne asked. Rise, I have an ability to sense Chi across the Legion. I sensed everyone and found you to be the Legion's strongest warrior, so I summoned you, Axis said. You flatter me, Great Gene Father. There are certainly warriors stronger than I in the Legion, Khorne protested. The title of the Legion's strongest made him uneasy, but deep down he trusted the Gene Father's judgment. He was indeed the Legion's #1 fighter. The Legion now included both the Warhounds and Axis's original 100,000 men. Don't be modest. I know you're powerful. I can feel it because I'm a warrior too. All my Gene Seed offspring gain the golden transformation after conversion. Tell me, can you unleash your full power? Axis asked. Great Gene Father, the golden transformation is the honor you grant. I can naturally use it, even beyond the extreme state, Khorne said. He had been under Axis's gene chains for 4 months. Every gene sequence now came from the Gene Father. He'd mastered the golden transformation and found he surpassed his brothers. The extreme state is 5 times. Do you mean you've exceeded that? Axis asked, intrigued. Yes, I'm already battle-hardened. My strength reached the pinnacle of a space marine. I wouldn't fear facing a custodian. After learning your transformation, I easily reached the extreme state. Not long ago, I pushed through it. I can perform a six-fold or greater transformation, Khorne said. He then activated the golden transformation. Golden light washed over him and his combat power leapt sixfold. Ha ha ha! As expected of the warrior I favor, Axis cried. Come, drink this. Axis picked up a glass of spirit tree fruit juice, 50 milliliters, 10 times the usual dose, and handed it to Khorne to test his limits. Khorne rose, took the cup without hesitation, and downed the red juice in one gulp. Chapter 175. Khorne, I am worthy of the Golden Father. I am the first warrior of the Legion. Khorne obeyed Axis without hesitation. Even if the red liquid were poison, he would have taken it at once. More than instinct told him it wasn't poison. His gene father would not offer him that. Axis was a warrior, and he treated his warriors with warrior's honor. When the fluid slid down his throat, Khorne felt a torrent of life force surge outward from his core. Old wounds earned in countless campaigns knit closed right before his eyes. The newfound vitality spread through him, feverishly strengthening muscle and bone, as if an endless well of power had been tapped inside him. Ah! Khorne roared. A golden aura flared around him as two sensations tore through his body, the acute pain of rapid physical augmentation and a comforting warmth as the life energy nourished him. Hold on, Khorne, Axis said. This is a special enhancement serum. Your brothers receive only 5 milliliters. I gave you 50, 10 times what the others got. I picked you because you're powerful, because your will is iron, and because you've already broken the limits of the golden transformation. I believe you can grow even stronger and become my greatest warrior. Khorne's aptitude truly was exceptional. Newly born of Axis's gene seed and freshly mutated, he had not only absorbed the serum, but had already pushed beyond the Emperor's 5-fold cap on the golden transformation. That cap had never been absolute. It was a limiter. Ordinary humans could not withstand Scion-level power, but S-cells were miraculous. With a steadfast resolve to grow stronger and deliberate effort, S-cells could trigger real miracles, the true essence of Scion power. The fighters of the 12th Legion were precisely the kind of warriors such cells favored, and Khorne stood among the very best. As the enhancement finished, Khorne knelt, trembling from the aftershocks. He could not fail Axis. He gritted his teeth and endured until the tremors subsided. 10 minutes later, he rose. His fist clenched around raw, new strength. His physicality had multiplied many times over. If he used the golden transformation now, his power would be terrifying, maybe enough to take down 1, perhaps 2 custodians without transforming further. Axis applauded, a satisfied smile on his face, and gave a thumbs up. Khorne had surpassed expectations. He had absorbed the spirit tree fruit serum at 10 times the dose and integrated it into his body instead of being overwhelmed by it. Excellent, Khorne. You are the warrior I value. You're more capable than your brothers. None of them could have handled your dose, Axis said. Thank you for your trust, Gene Father. Your trust and your gene seed allowed me to withstand it, Khorne replied, still on his knees. I'll dilute this serum and share it among the Legion. After everyone is enhanced, I'll hold a tournament. The winner will be my adjutant, the Lord Commander of this Legion. Do you have what it takes to claim that position? Axis asked. Khorne rose and knelt on one knee, voice steady. Lord Axis, I will beat every one of my brothers. I will prove I am your strongest gene seed offspring, worthy of the golden gene father and the golden transformation. Axis chuckled. I would like a worthy sparring partner too. Even the custodians fail to meet my standards. Train hard, Khorne. I will use Ki next to further strengthen your body. As you grow, I'll keep increasing your power. I hope you can one day be my proper opponent. To spar with you would be my greatest honor, Khorne said. Your enhancement is done for today. Go rest. We start real training tomorrow. Khorne bowed and left. Once he had gone, Kasha, who had been watching from an adjoining room, stepped out. Incredible. He actually absorbed 10 times the dose, Axis nodded. And he's already pushed the golden transformation to 6-fold. That's rare. That's strange, Kasha said. Your gene seed's cap is 5-fold. How can he get to 6? Could he reach 50-fold later? When the Emperor and Micardo studied my gene seed, they weakened it because the human body couldn't handle full-strength S-cells. If the multiplication were too great, it would collapse the host cells, Axis explained. But S-cells self-replicate. If someone's potential is strong and their will is iron, S-cells respond. It's unlikely he'll reach my 50-fold, but with training his personal limit could be 10-fold. Humans have limits. Saiyans don't, but 10-fold might be his ceiling. Then again, Axis added with a faint smile, he might surprise us. Does that mean other geniuses in the Legion could break the 5-fold limit if they have that warrior's heart? Kasha asked. Theoretically, yes, but such geniuses won't be common, perhaps no more than 3 in a Legion. I hope fortune smiles on us. Axis's satisfaction was clear. His new warriors were, in effect, weakened half-Saiyans. If they learned to use Ki properly, their transformations could rival the true Super Saiyan. Early the next morning, Khorne was already kneeling before Axis's door. Axis and Kasha found him waiting when they rose. Good morning, great Gene Father, Khorne said. How long have you been there? You needn't be so early next time, Axis told him. I dare not be negligent in any of the Gene Father's orders. The moment I woke, I came here, Khorne replied. Axis dressed and led Khorne and 20 other enhanced warriors to the training ground. I'll first use Ki to boost you, then the test, 20 of you against Khorne, 1 on 20. Silence fell. The new recruits were stunned. The veterans bristled. You mean all of us against Khorne? Asked one who had followed Axis from the Space Wolves. Khorne's strength is significant. 20 of you together might have a chance, Axis said. We object, an old veteran barked. We followed you for 30 years. He's been here less than 6 months. How is he stronger than us? Because I am the strongest, Khorne declared, stepping forward, chest out. I am the Legion's #1 warrior. The veterans seethed. Axis's answer was simple. If anyone objects, fight him. If someone defeats Khorne one-on-one, he'll retract that claim. The Golden Legion speaks through strength. Odoro, Axis's long-serving former adjutant and captain of the First Company, was chosen. In the veterans' eyes, Odoro was their champion. Axis sat and watched, eager. Let them settle this by combat. This was Saiyan nature. Khorne stood in the center, battle intent burning in his golden eyes. Odoro removed the outer robe of his power armor, revealing a physique honed by decades and enhanced by Ki. Kid, don't let the Gene Father's favor make you arrogant. I'll teach you respect, Odoro growled, and struck. His blow was blisteringly fast, a whistling fist aimed at Khorne's face. Khorne barely moved, the blow passed empty air. Odoro's eyes narrowed. He hadn't seen Khorne's movement, only the result. Too slow, Khorne murmured at Odoro's ear, and before the veteran could react, an elbow slammed into his back. Odoro was flung to the ground, the impact gouging a shallow crater in the training surface. He scrambled up, disbelief and fury on his face. This is impossible, the other veterans cried. Their strongest had been laid low in one turn. Do you want to continue? Khorne asked. Odoro's face contorted. He bellowed and drew upon his reserve, unleashing the golden transformation to its 5-fold limit. His voice turned deep, hoarse with power. Now let's see who's stronger. Khorne's smile was calm. 5-fold is your limit. My opening is 6-fold, and that is not even my limit. As Odoro lunged, Khorne's body erupted in blinding golden light, brighter and fiercer than Odoro's. The clash of energies shook the training ground. Warriors shielded their eyes against the glare. When the light finally faded, every jaw dropped. Khorne held Odoro by the throat with one hand, lifting him clear off the ground. Odoro's golden transformation had been forcibly shattered. His body hung limp in the air. I surrender, Odoro gasped, struggling for breath. Chapter 176. Try to become stronger, Khorne. Until you can take 10 of my moves. Khorne set Odoro gently on the ground and turned to face the remaining 9 veterans. A few recruits stepped forward to carry Odoro to the side. With a confident smile, he asked, Now do you see why the Gene Father said he needed 20 people? Are you all going to come at me together? The 9 veterans exchanged looks, flames of resolve in their eyes. One of them barked, Brothers, attack together, for the glory of the Golden Legion. They wasted no more words. 9 golden auras flared as the veterans triggered their golden transformation and surged at Khorne from all directions. That's more like it, Khorne roared, grinning. Come on, my fighting brothers. In the presence of the Gene Father, fight! The training ground became a storm of gold. Khorne moved through the ring of transformed warriors like a living thunderbolt. His speed blurred, his strikes hit like sledgehammers, and the super alloy floor beneath them cracked from the force of the blows. Each time Khorne struck, a veteran fell. He danced through the assault with ghost-like agility. When the first veteran closed in, Khorne sidestepped and fired his right fist like a cannon into the man's chest. The aura around the veteran shattered. He was sent crashing into the training wall. The second veteran aimed a golden fist at Khorne's temple, but Khorne's left hand flashed out, snatching the wrist and swinging the man into a third attacker. They collided and tumbled away in a shower of sparks. The remaining veterans roared and attacked as one. Golden light burned in Khorne's eyes. He ducked, swept a horizontal leg. The ground detonated, and 3 veterans were staggered by the shockwave. Khorne then launched upward, raining down blows that smashed 2 assailants into the earth unconscious. 2 veterans gathered themselves and struck from left and right with full force. Khorne simply crossed his arms and met their punches. The shockwave ripped the ground from beneath him, but his stance held. Good power, he grinned as his arms trembled, but not enough. The 2 were shoved back as if against an invisible wall. The veterans all had the same thought at once. What kind of monster was this? The gap between them and him was unbelievable. Khorne closed the distance in an instant, a knee to one's gut, a back elbow to the other's shoulder, and both warriors crumpled, their golden transformations collapsing. 9 veterans lay defeated. Khorne stood in the center of the training ground, his golden aura slowly ebbing, and looked around. Anyone else? The fallen veterans struggled to their feet, and though battered, their eyes shone with something like reverence. The warrior before them had far outmatched their expectations. No wonder the Gene Father prized him. The limit for the golden transformation in the Legion was said to be 5-fold. Pushing it required horrific strain. Yet Khorne had gone beyond. He had hit 6-fold. That doubling of power represented a chasm. Even if all 9 of them, or 10, had Captain Odoro not been injured, attacked together, they likely would not have prevailed. At that moment, 10 new recruits who had been watching stepped forward, faces alight. One of them swallowed and said in a steady voice, "Senior Khorne, please train us." Their blood was up from simply watching. Bearing Axis's gene seed, the Golden Legion shared a temperament for battle, for fist-to-fist, face-to-face combat. Khorne's grin widened. This was the spirit of the 12th Legion, to meet force with force. Axis, seated on the sidelines, applauded and beckoned the recruits forward. Watching his gene seed offspring fight was a pleasure, even if they were raw. The 10 nodded. Each had been enhanced by the Gene Father's serum and were far stronger than ordinary legionaries. Khorne raised an eyebrow and laughed. Good, use everything you've got. Show me what the new recruits can do. They charged. Without golden transformation, this was unadorned close combat, fists and feet and will. One recruit launched a straight punch at Khorne's face. Khorne tilted away and returned a controlled blow to the man's chest. The recruit staggered, but rose and attacked again. Another swung a whip-like kick toward Khorne's waist. He caught the ankle and flung the man aside. Punches, elbows, knees, shoulder charges. Khorne's movements were a river, smooth and precise. He pressed his advantage but held back deliberately. He would not truly harm these recruits. Still, their power was impressive. Without the Gene Father's enhancements, their stats would have matched his own. Their combat capability far exceeded that of ordinary Space Marines. The recruits kept pressing on. Knocked down, they rose and attacked anew. Not bad! Again! Khorne called, growing more exhilarated with each exchange. His strikes were heavy with authority, yet measured, as if teaching rather than crushing. At last, all 10 lay panting on the ground, gasping but glowing with the thrill of battle. They had lost, but they had given everything. You are all excellent, Khorne declared, standing among them. Become warriors of the Golden Legion and serve the Legion with us. They helped one another up. Thank you for your guidance, Lord Khorne, they chorused. Axis rose from the stands and walked down, clapping. A splendid showing, Khorne. Strength, control, the bearing of a true senior warrior. Khorne knelt on one knee. All thanks to you, Gene Father. Axis helped him to his feet. No, talent and effort belong to you. He swept his gaze over the assembled veterans and recruits. You have seen it. This is the power that breaks the limits of golden transformation. Khorne achieved it, and you can too. Strive to reach it. Odoro stepped forward and gave Khorne a solemn warrior's salute. I apologize for my earlier arrogance, brother. Your strength deserves the title first warrior of the Legion. Khorne returned the salute. Strive to be stronger, for our Gene Father, for the Golden Legion, for the Emperor. Axis watched, pleased. From today on, Khorne will be my personal sparring partner, and all of you, he looked round at every warrior present. Set Khorne as your goal. Constantly break your limits. Our 12th Legion must always surpass itself. That is your aim. Surpass our limits, for the great Gene Father, they roared in unison. Good. Now report to the Legion Apothecary in the medbay. Tomorrow we begin a new cycle of special training. Khorne, you stay. After the others departed, Axis clapped Khorne on the shoulder. You did well today, but it isn't enough. Khorne glanced up, surprised. Gene Father? I can feel your potential runs far deeper, Axis said. I will personally train you until you make me fight at full strength? Khorne asked eagerly. Axis laughed. No, until you can withstand 10 of my moves. 10 moves. The Gene Father only expected him to last 10 blows. How formidable, then, was Axis himself? Chapter 177, Khorne's Shock, the father of the most powerful Primarch. Khorne fell silent for a moment, then the fighting light in his eyes flared hotter. He grinned, and golden flames burst from his body again. The power of his six-fold golden transformation swelled his muscles. A fine, luminous sheen covered his skin. 10 moves. Good. This is the challenge I've been waiting for. Great Gene Father, may I test your strength? Since it had come to this, he couldn't pass up a proper fight. The earlier skirmishes had all been overwhelming victories, and he hadn't even used his full power. He hadn't bothered to use golden transformation against the new recruits at the end. Ha ha ha! Khorne, you truly amuse me. If you want to test me, I will indulge you. Axis smiled, one hand resting behind his back while he beckoned with the other. Come, attack me with everything you've got. I'll let you have 10 moves first, without retaliating. I won't hold back, great Gene Father. First move. Khorne charged with a crazed look, his form blurring into a golden afterimage. He moved even faster than when he'd fought the veterans, almost teleporting, and threw a punch straight at Axis's chest. The blow tore at the air itself, leaving ripples in its wake. Bang! Axis didn't shift his feet. He raised a single finger and stopped Khorne's punch as if it were a child's plaything. He watched Khorne with an amused expression, as if to say, not nearly enough, child. Khorne's pupils pinched. Was this a joke? His full-power strike had been met and stopped by a single finger, without even forcing Axis to take a step back. He retreated, immediately changing tactics, and swung his left leg like a battle axe aimed for Axis's waist. Second move, Khorne shouted. That kick had the power to tear through tank armor, yet Axis didn't dodge. He lifted one hand and caught the blow with a calm palm. His grip clamped around Khorne's leg like iron. With a slight squeeze, cold sweat beaded on Khorne's forehead. Your speed is good, Axis observed, but you still need to increase your explosive power. Khorne roared. The golden flames around him contracted and poured into his right fist, which detonated with fierce force. Third move. This punch pushed beyond the limits of a six-fold transformation, even brushing the threshold of a seven-fold. The air where it passed screamed and tore. Axis regarded him with a hint of surprise. He hadn't expected that after the spirit tree fruit juice he'd been given yesterday, the boy's golden transformation would leap forward so quickly. S-cells suited him well. It was still useless. Axis calmly blocked the attack with one hand and flicked the gene seed scion away. Before Khorne could react, an irresistible force hurled him through the air. That's the fourth move, Axis said, beckoning with a finger. Khorne howled and charged like a cannonball. This time, Axis accepted the blow with his chest rather than blocking. Bang! Khorne plowed into the superalloy wall of the training grounds, denting it. He coughed blood, staggered to his feet, disbelief on his face. Axis hadn't even tried to stop him. He'd simply used the recoil of his own body to send Khorne flying. The gap between them was staggering. He had thought himself far stronger, perhaps 10 times what he once was, but against his Gene Father, he felt utterly powerless. Again, fifth move, Axis said. Khorne struggled to rise, panting, eyes never leaving Axis. His Gene Father stood there as if full of openings, but utterly unassailable. Any attack seemed destined to be caught and nullified. There was no hope of victory. Even if Axis didn't strike, his body's instinctive countershock would be enough to maim Khorne if he pressed on. The difference in strength was like heaven and earth. It's no use, great Gene Father, Khorne said helplessly. No matter how hard I strike, it won't work against you. Those attacks were my limit. Then I'll make one move, Axis said. Watch it carefully. Don't blink. Come on, great Gene Father. Let your gene seed offspring see the gulf between us, Khorne shouted. Axis's foot moved like a blur and he vanished. Khorne caught only an afterimage before a violent gust slashed past his side. Faster than fast, impossibly fast. He barely glimpsed the incoming fist. His body felt locked, as if held by some invisible vice. He could only watch helplessly as Axis's fist swelled in his vision, closing in. He thought, I am dead. It's over. If that punch lands, boom. Axis's blow didn't strike the center of Khorne's skull. It grazed his ear, enough to cut it. Cold sweat mixed with blood trickled down his face. Khorne sank to his knees, great beads of sweat falling from his brow, his heart pounding as if it might burst. In that instant, he'd been so close to death he could feel it. The despair was indescribable. The great Gene Father was impossibly strong. Are you all right? Axis offered a hand and hauled the scion upright, clapping a palm on his shoulder. I'm fine, great Gene Father, Khorne stammered, sucking in deep breaths. It's hard to accept how much I've grown, but even so, against you, even the confidence I'd have against other gene seed Primarchs is gone. With you, all I feel is despair. Axis gave a small, approving smile. You're already very good. Your current combat ability could overwhelm a custodian, an enhanced one at that. If you faced other gene seed Primarchs, you might hold your ground for 3 moves, not 10. Khorne stared. The present generation of gene seed Primarchs was nothing like those from the original timeline. Thanks to Axis's distribution of spirit tree fruit, every Primarch's physical strength and vitality had at least doubled. That increase meant far greater speed and endurance, a terrifying boost. In such company, Khorne might manage only a few exchanges, and that only if the others held back. If they were trying to kill him, he wouldn't even see their movements. He would die in one. Khorne looked at Axis in disbelief. So his Gene Father was different from the other Primarchs? He was the strongest of them all? As you suspect, Axis said. I have fought Rogel Dorn, Horus, Lionel Johnson, and my foster father, Leman Russ. At one point on Holy Terra, I stood against Dorn and Horus's encirclement, 2 against me, and still I prevailed. He left out the confrontation with the Emperor for obvious reasons. Of course, Khorne said, breathless with excitement. Great Gene Father, you are the most powerful of the Gene Seed Primarchs. As your offspring, I must become the greatest space marine. Did you wonder if I used golden transformation against them? Axis chuckled. I have it. Your golden transformation comes from me. But when I faced those other Primarchs, I didn't even use it. I defeated them in my normal state, and my golden transformation isn't a 5-fold increase. It magnifies my power 50-fold with no side effects. I can hold it for 24 hours. My longest was over a month straight. 50 times? And it can last a day? Khorne echoed, astonished, barely able to breathe at the thought. Chapter 178, Awakening the Essence of the Subspace, or Ascending to Godhood in the Flesh. Khan stood there with his mouth open, disbelief written across his face. This was more outrageous than he had imagined. 50 times? What did 50 times even mean? Even the great Lord of Mankind, the Emperor, was probably not more than that. For a moment, a blasphemous thought flashed through Khan's mind, and he quickly wrenched himself back, expelling it. Such thoughts were treasonous. Great Gene Father, I fear I have dishonored your transformative gift. I can only manage a 6 times transformation for now, Khorne said. But believe me, within a year or 2, maybe even a few months, I will push to a 7 times state. Axis smiled inwardly. This was just the beginning. He still had Super Saiyan 2 at 200 times, Super Saiyan 3 at 400 times, and other transcendent stacking forms in reserve. You have ambition, and I believe in you, Axis said. You can train your base transformations. Maintain a 2 to 3 times state constantly, except when you eat or sleep. Let your body adapt. In battle, you'll be able to reach higher levels. That's how I trained. That method would work for his gene seed offspring too, but not for ordinary Marines. These multiplied transformations battered the body. Only those with monstrous talent could endure them. Axis knew only a space marine of extraordinary potential like Khorne could hope to reach the highest multipliers. I understand, great Gene Father. Khorne replied, seizing the meaning. The more often one used a transformation, the more proficient the body became. Remaining in that state almost always would accustom his physiology to the strain. One more thing, Axis cautioned. Training is training. Do not exceed your limits. At your current stage, stay in the 2 times or 3 times state. Master 2 times before moving up. Don't try to leap to the heavens in a single bound. Overreaching will not only stress your body, it can cause permanent damage. You'd be destroyed. After all, his gene seed offspring had only cells grafted into them. They didn't possess a Saiyan's brutal physique or even the durability of half-breeds. Only space marines of exceptional lineage could bear that level of transformation load. I will heed your counsel, great Gene Father, Khorne said, head bowed. Axis nodded and dismissed him. Once Khorne had left, Axis turned to other business. He diluted the spirit tree fruit and prepared to strengthen his entire legion, aiming for a 40 to 50% boost. He harvested over 230 spirit tree fruits, pressed them, and diluted the juice. With that, he completed the modification of every gene seed descendant in the legion, 210,000 warriors affected. The overall physical prowess of the warhounds increased roughly 40 to 50% compared to a normal legion. When the fortification work was done, Axis ordered his gene seed troops organized into battle groups of 10,000, forming 20 such units. They would rendezvous with the mortal auxiliary forces the Emperor had sent and then commence the Great Crusade. Each unit paired 5,000 veterans with 5,000 recruits, old leading new, so the fledglings could learn under fire. Axis kept 10,000 of his gene seed warriors back on the homeworld for construction and deterrence. A 10,000-strong force, bolstered by mortal auxiliaries, could conquer a planet with ease. The Primarch's return had lifted morale sky high. Axis estimated they might claim as many as 60 worlds a year. During the deployments, he also communicated with Russ and Lionel Johnson. Lion acknowledged the spirit tree fruits Axis had sent with gratitude and little else. Russ, on the other hand, was less reserved. He asked if there were any more, wanting to strengthen his space wolves. Axis did not hesitate for his old father. He allocated 100 spirit tree fruits and arranged for them to be delivered in secret. He commissioned Odoro, a former Space Wolves captain who was part of their clandestine contact cell, to convey them. That unit, comprised of Fenris-born veterans, was a shared secret between the two legions. A month later, Magnus reached out psychically to speak privately. Axis, the spirit tree fruit's effect is unbelievable, Magnus said. After I consumed it, my strength at least doubled, and my psychic power grew as well. He had taken the fruit months earlier, and then retreated into seclusion as the life force violently reacted with his soul, allowing him to digest and integrate the change. For others, the fruit improved the body. For Magnus, it had reinforced his soul. That was why he waited until now to contact Axis. I'm glad it helped. The spare fruits I gave you can be given to your cultivating offspring. They'll multiply his combat capability as well, Axis replied. Magnus was diplomatic but urgent. Axis, do you have any more of them? If any other gene seed Primarch asked, I'd refuse. But if it's you, how many do you want? Axis asked. Their relationship was good, and he had no intent to deceive Magnus. He was also curious to see what the pony would become. After a pause, Magnus answered, almost shyly, if possible, 3 more would do. Axis raised an eyebrow. He had assumed Magnus would use them to strengthen his legion. It seemed Magnus intended to consume them himself. Yes, Axis, these fruits enhance both soul and body. I sense an invisible membrane around my essence. With the help of 10 more of these fruits, I could break through it. Then my physical form could truly contain my soul. What do you mean, truly contain your soul? What membrane? Axis asked. Magnus did not hide the discovery. The greatest purpose of my special gene seed is to use chi energy to fortify my body. It helps me resist warp incursion and strengthens my soul. Over decades, my soul grew at least twice as powerful. That feeling intensified after taking the fruit. Axis, we Primarchs came from the warp. We are likely subspace gods. Father built the strongest human bodies with the most advanced tech and his own genes, but even such bodies are insufficient to fully contain a being of the warp. Your chi and this fruit have changed that. I have a premonition. I can transcend this realm and truly step into godhood. If Axis had not introduced him to Chi, given him a gene seed unit infused with it, and sent the spirit tree fruit, Magnus believed he might never have touched this threshold. "You mean awakening your warp essence?" Axis said. "When gene seed Primarchs embrace their warp origins, their power multiplies. Corvus Corax, once awakened, could hold Lorgar at bay for 10,000 years single-handed. Lionel Johnson, in the Caliban Wood, later avoided attacks instinctively. His white flame burned daemons as if with the Emperor's holy fire. After his acceptance, the Lion could enchant weapons and even rend the veil between the warp and reality, slipping through the forest's illusion to reappear anywhere, teleporting whole chapters in the process. Acceptance of one's warp essence warped the balance of power. Awakening the warp essence is not a bad description, Magnus mused, but I'd call my state something else. It's not merely waking up what we are. This power is inherent in us. Our bodies are simply too weak or constrained to utilize it. What I am experiencing is more a sublimation of soul and body. My body is becoming fit to house my soul. Apotheosis fits better. The gods in the warp lack bodies. If his physical form could match his soul and could use that power in the real universe, Magnus would become an invincible force. "You still think you need 10 fruits?" Axis asked. "Yes, 10. Based on the life essence concentration in one fruit, 10 more should suffice," Magnus said. Axis's expression grew serious. "That will be difficult. It's not that I can't give you 10, but the second fruit from the same source won't have the same effect. This fruit is peculiar. Its cultivation requires the destruction of an entire world. The fruits produced by a single planet only produce that transformational effect once, on the first fruit eaten. A second fruit won't grant the same powerful result. If the fruits came from a true god world, there would be no such limitation, but fruits grown on mortal soil were imperfect. That was why Axis had not let Kasha eat a second fruit. Its effect would be halved. After the first fruit, additional ones were more for healing and restoring life force than for evolutionary jumps. "There's that restriction?" Magnus frowned. "Then I'd need 10 planets destroyed to complete my evolution." 10 worlds isn't impossible, Axis said. "There are many planets marked for exterminatus. We can use one of those." Axis privately wanted to see what Magnus would become if he succeeded, whether he would awaken a warp essence or undergo a fleshly apotheosis. A subspace god with a matching physical body would be an opponent to test himself against. "If you say so, I have a planet I'm already planning to exterminate us," Magnus said. "It's occupied by Xenos. They've seeded it with twisted structures. There's no reason to keep it. Come meet me there." "Send me the coordinates. I'll meet you," Axis replied. He was curious, eager to witness whether Magnus would indeed break through or ascend into something else entirely. Chapter 179, Saiyan Thinking. The stronger the opponent, the better. When Axis learned that Magnus was about to evolve into a subspace god with a physical body, his first thought wasn't about warp corruption or falling into madness. It was that he'd finally have an opponent he could fight. How exciting. Axis craved powerful opponents. As a Saiyan, the stronger the enemy, the better. That drive was in his blood. Saiyans even gave rivals chances to grow stronger. Just like Goku letting Vegeta go after their fight on Earth, or Vegeta allowing Cell to attain a higher form. As a pure-blooded Saiyan, that instinct was carved into Axis's bones. A Saiyan's pride was to face mighty foes. If he were a normal transmigrant, the sensible thing would be to try to weaken any gene seed Primarchs who might one day rebel, neutralize the threat, make his side safer. But Axis wanted the opposite. He wanted them stronger. Stronger opponents meant better fights. Saiyans needed the stimulus of powerful enemies to evolve. If Magnus becomes a subspace god with a real body by using the spirit tree fruit, then in theory other gene seed Primarchs could do the same, Axis thought, elated. Magnus's voice came over the link. "All right, I'll send you the coordinates right away. Since you're coming this time, you can meet Sanguinius. He can't conveniently come out to you. During the Great Crusade, Sanguinius couldn't drop everything to travel to Nuceria, unless there was a very good reason. It might take years, or more, to arrange." The fact Sanguinius was fighting these Xenos nearby made this a perfect opportunity. "You and Sanguinius get along well," Axis said. In the original timeline, Horus had been closest to Sanguinius, Magnus's relationship with him had always been only average. Sanguinius and Khorne tended to ally with Magnus at meetings dealing with psychers, but otherwise, "Ha! We get along quite well," Magnus replied. He's one of the few Primarchs who isn't prejudiced against psychers. The only ones who truly weren't biased against psychers were Axis, Sanguinius, and Chogoris Khorne. Other Gene-Seed Primarchs might keep a polite face, but Magnus could sense their repulsion. Even Axis's adoptive father, Leman Russ, disliked psychers until Axis had convinced him otherwise. Magnus's best relationships were with Axis and then Sanguinius. "Don't worry, Magnus. I'll support your intellect library plan," Axis said. "Thank you, Axis. You know, I'm a bit confused. Gene-Seed Primarchs all originate from the warp. Our essence is a life form of the warp. I can confirm that now, 100%. And yet these foolish ones want to resist their origin, as if resisting their own mother." Magnus sounded distressed. This discovery was something he could share only with Axis. If he told the others, he'd be branded a traitor. How can a power be inherently good or evil? If the warp is evil, does that make our father, the Emperor, righteous just because he's the most powerful psyker? Magnus continued. Axis fell silent for a moment. To some extent, the Emperor was not a benevolent figure. If you cast him purely as a righteous god, you'd be mistaken. To non-human races, the Emperor could easily be seen as an evil god. His existence was not much better than the four gods of the warp. As for warp power itself, Axis was the most cautious. Without the angel's ring purifying his soul, and without the protection of his key, he wouldn't dare touch psychic power. It was too dangerous. Maybe the original warp had been a pure chaotic force, but once the four gods came into being, it turned malign. Axis kept these thoughts to himself. They chatted a while longer. After listening to Magnus's complaints, Axis ended the communication. He had the coordinates of the target planet and immediately uploaded them to the Dawn Star. This mission he would not take in his Glory Queen-class battleship. He would travel on the Dawn Star. This was a secret operation. No records would be left. That night, Axis told Kasha his decision and asked her to oversee Nuceria's development for the next few months. "You're leaving for months again? We're very busy, and don't forget your promise. Guilliman's adoptive mother will be here soon. How are you going to receive her?" "Should I?" Kasha rolled her eyes. "Don't say that. I'm leaving for something important. Don't you want another spirit tree fruit? As for Guilliman's adoptive mother, you can temporarily receive her for me," Axis said. "If it's about planting a mental tree, I want to see it too." Kasha admitted. She was curious. Such a plant was one of the universe's top treasures. "If both you and I leave, who will manage Nuceria? Who will run our home?" Axis countered. "You can leave it to your gene-seed offspring. Like Khorne, besides being a good fighter, he's also decent at management," Kasha suggested. "Don't joke. The administrative staff Guilliman has sent will arrive in a few months. You'll have to receive them," Axis said. He couldn't vanish into seclusion without someone handling the planet's political transition. One of them needed to be present to receive Guilliman's personnel. "Then you'll promise me this. Next time you plant that special tree, you must take me with you," Kasha insisted. "Don't worry. Next time I'll definitely take you and show you how a mental tree grows," Axis promised. Magnus's physical and spiritual evolution would require at least 10 spirit tree fruits. This journey was only to secure the second fruit. There would be many more chances. "You're super curious about how I plant such a magical tree?" Axis teased. "You'll see for yourself. This time, I'll bring you the second fruit to consume," he added. The next day, Axis set Nuceria's affairs in order. He publicly announced a period of deep cultivation and that he would not see any guests or gene-seed offspring for several months. All matters were entrusted to his wife, Imperial Princess Kasha. He ordered Odoro and Mater to assist her in managing the Legion. "Rest assured, Great Gene Father, we'll take good care of the homeworld while you cultivate," the three said in unison, kneeling. Nuceria's situation had stabilized. Imperial support personnel were already heavily involved in construction, bringing jobs and improving living standards. In the half-year since Lord Axis had taken control, life on Nuceria had improved dramatically compared to the days of slave owners. New recruit selection was proceeding steadily with adjustments across the board. "You can rely on us. If anything happens, Mater, Khorne, and Odoro will discuss it with Kasha. If it's unmanageable, Kasha will contact me, Axis said. Having psychic powers made communication across star systems effortless. No matter how far he traveled, he could know what was happening at home almost instantly. I understand, Gene Father, Mater nodded. With matters settled, Axis bid Kasha farewell and boarded the Dawn Star. Welcome home, great Gene Father. The ship's virtual persona greeted and bowed. Long time no see, Dawn Star. I'll give you coordinates. Take me there as fast as possible, Axis said, moving to the control panel and entering the coordinates Magnus had provided. Yes, Father. Analyzing coordinates. The destination is 1,100 light-years from our current position. Warp travel will take approximately 26 days, the Dawn Star reported. Axis nodded and ordered the activation of the warp engines. The Dawn Star slid into the Immaterium and set course for the target planet. Chapter 180, The Road to the Future, a Harlequin troop suddenly appears. For more than 20 days, Axis remained in the Morning Star's gravity chamber, training under hundreds of times normal gravity. He had pushed himself until 200 to 300 G felt easy, and he was slowly learning to control his Super Saiyan 3 form. The power of Super Saiyan 3 was undeniable, but the energy and stamina demands were brutal. Even now, Axis could not hold the transformation for more than an hour. Stacking Transcended Super Saiyan with Super Saiyan 3 cut that time to under 30 minutes before his body hit its limits and his internal reserves ran dry. Using heavy charge techniques shortened it further. At present, Axis had two practical combat options. The first was the regular Super Saiyan form, or Super Saiyan Full Power, which minimized energy drain and let him fight almost indefinitely. The second was his legendary Super Saiyan state, enormous destructive force with still manageable endurance for the right fights. Most routine engagements didn't require Super Saiyan 2 or 3. In the current universe, only the Emperor could force him to rely on those higher, more costly transformations. If Axis wanted more power, he saw two possible routes. One was Super Saiyan 4, the atavistic form born from the Great Ape, an enormous multiplier over Super Saiyan 3. But Super Saiyan 4 demanded the Golden Great Ape transformation, and as a legendary Super Saiyan, he would become a massive Golden Green Ape. The practical questions terrified him. Could he maintain sanity while in the Great Ape state? Could he control the transformation long enough to avoid destroying planets and then surviving the aftershocks? The risks were severe. A single mistake might kill him. In theory, Axis had advantages. The Emperor had augmented his brain with a special control core, and his bloodline had advanced from ordinary Saiyan to Super Saiyan. Controlling a Great Ape might be possible. But the uncertainty was too high for a gamble. The other route was the godly path, Super Saiyan God into Super Blue and beyond, divine power evolution rather than primal. Which was stronger between Super Saiyan 4 and Super Blue was arguable, but Super Blue's aura control and overall refinement made it more appealing. Seeing the God of Destruction's communicator had also changed Axis's thinking. The Dragon Ball world contained countless parallel universes. Future Trunks, GT, the movies, and the timelines of Dragon Ball Super all existed side by side. The presence of a God of Destruction in this world proved this was the Dragon Ball Super timeline, where Goku and Vegeta had chosen the godly route and reached Ultra Instinct variants. With those predecessors, divine power felt more accessible in the Warhammer universe. After weighing the options, Axis decided not to risk Super Saiyan 4 and to follow the Super Saiyan God path. When his training session ended, Axis turned to more practical matters. Morning Star, how is your work progressing on the hyperspace engine, the medical pods, and the other equipment I gave you, and the special sniper rifle? Father, the Morning Star's virtual image replied, analysis of the hyperspace engine is only about 10% complete. It will take time to fully reverse engineer it. The medical pods, battle suits, and special energy weapons are fine. I can manufacture those in quantity. The sniper rifle is the problem. Its material is unlike anything in Imperial inventories. Ceramite, standard superalloys, plasteel, adamantium, or the Galactic Empire's special alloys, none match. I cannot produce suitable munition or replicate the rifle with current materials. Axis considered. Can auramite, the metal from the power armor I brought, substitute for it? The armor's auramite surpasses ordinary Imperial special metals, but its design focuses on resisting psychic power, which is a different property from what the rifle needs, Morningstar said. If I must recommend a substitute, the Necron's living metal would be ideal. Living metal, Axis repeated. Understood. I'll see what I can find. I will continue to search for other exotic materials, Morningstar added. If you can obtain the right manufacturing components, producing the sniper rifle won't be difficult. No rush. There's something else I want. Design a special suit for me. Lightweight, high defense like a battle suit, but able to keep me alive and fighting in space. In the Warhammer universe, protection was as crucial as offense. Scions preferred mobility and simple battle suits, but space combat required life support and radiation shielding. Morningstar answered readily, I can do that. It will take time, Father. Don't be too conservative in the design. Add a bit of weight if you must, but make sure it resists various space radiations. I understand. More than 20 days of travel passed quickly. The Morningstar dropped out of warp into an unfamiliar star system, the one Magnus had given as the target for an exterminatus. The target planet lay several astronomical units away, and no Imperial vessels were yet present. Axis had arrived early. To maintain stealth, he ordered the ship cloaked and prepared to wait for Magnus and Sanguinius's fleets. A red alert flashed in his training room. Father, a humanoid has appeared aboard the ship, Morningstar reported immediately. Axis frowned. What? How did it get on board? I don't know, Father. It seemed to appear out of thin air within my hull, Morningstar said. As a full machine spirit with control over every hull system of the moon-sized fortress, Morningstar rarely missed an intrusion. Detection had been near instantaneous. Do you have an image? Bring it up. Please wait, Father. The virtual screen blurred and then locked onto a single figure, 2 meters, too tall, slender, and dressed in colorful, flamboyant, clown-like garb. His bearing was lithe and theatrical. Axis's mind supplied the origin before Morningstar spoke. Father, according to my databases, this individual is an Eldar, specifically a Harlequin. Morningstar's stores contained combined intel from both the Galactic Empire and the Imperium, including the Eldar. The Eldar are an ancient and powerful race, Morningstar continued. Their psychic abilities are formidable, and their physical attributes exceed humans. The intruder likely used psychic teleportation to appear aboard us. I can activate the defensive shield and the black stone matrix to prevent escape. Do it. Activate the ship's shields. On the display, the Harlequin suddenly made an exaggerated bow. He spoke in smooth, theatrical tones, as if addressing an audience rather than a warship. I am not your enemy, he said. I bring the goodwill of the Eldar Laughing God.